Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Hokage. My Sharingan can cultivate automatically. Chapter 81. 4th Generation Kage's proposal. Uchiha Sora had no reason to refuse. After the 4th Generation Kage cronies left, Uchiha Sora immediately deployed. First, some additional ninjas were sent to defend the border with the Earth Kingdom. Because there is no direct border between the Kingdom of Thunder and the Kingdom of Grass, there are 3 ways for their ninjas to attack the Kingdom of Grass. The first is to attack through the junction of the Country of Fire and the Country of Grass. This requires communication with the Country of Fire and asking the Leaf Village to cooperate. There was a conflict between Konaha and Kumo a few years ago, and it was absolutely impossible for them to agree to it. The second is to pass through the neutral Iron Country, enter the border of the original Taki Country, and then attack all the way to Kusanagi Village. This route also requires the consent of the Iron Country warriors. Obviously the neutral warriors would not agree to the request of the Kingdom of Thunder. The third method is to attack through the borders of the Country of Earth, the Country of Grass and the Country of Original Taki, which requires the consent of the Country of Earth. The Kingdom of Earth had just been defeated by Uchiha Sora not long ago, so they would definitely be happy to see the Kingdom of Thunder start a war with Uchiha Sora. Therefore, it is almost certain that the Kingdom of Thunder will attack from the border between the Kingdom of Grass and the Kingdom of Earth. It was the right thing for Uchiha to send additional ninjas to defend the border of Earth Country. However, Uchiha Sora did not wait for Kumogakure's attack. Because just when the ninjas of Kumogakure entered the territory of Earth Kingdom, the previously missing 8-Tails Jinchuriki Killer Bee has returned to Kumogakure village. This made 4th Raikage, who was originally filled with anger and was about to vent his anger on the Grass Ninja village, suddenly bewildered. After 4th Raikage asked about the reason, he learned that after Killer Bee was attacked that day, he used his own abilities to escape. After playing wildly outside for a while, he finally rushed back to the village when he learned that the Cloud Hidden village was going to launch a war against the Grass Ninja village. Killer Bee appeared and Raikage was so angry that he beat him up on the spot. This was a mistake, and Raikage was really in a dilemma. That day, Union Village started a high-level secret meeting. The meeting decided to continue the attack on Kusanagi Village. But there is another secret mission waiting to happen. The next night, Union Village sent a large number of ninjas into the Kingdom of Earth, came to the border of the Kingdom of Grass, and launched an attack towards the border of the Kingdom of Grass. Uchiha Sora received the news immediately and sent troops to fight. Ninjas from both sides fought fiercely on the border. The Uchiha clan once again takes the field to fight against the enemy. With the support of the powerful combat power of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha was able to resist the enemy forces in Union Village without Uchiha taking any action. Uchiha Kong just sent the Dirty Land elites to join the battle, and the battle situation fell into a stalemate. In the leader's mansion, Uchiha Sora continued to receive intelligence feedback from the battlefield, and couldn't help but be secretly surprised. It seems that this time Kumogakure did not show the fighting power that a great ninja village should have. It wasn't until 3 days later that a piece of news came out, shocking the ninja world. The Earth Country ninjas suddenly launched an attack from behind on the Kumogakure ninjas who entered the border from the Thunder Country. What is going on? In the sand-hidden village of the Country of Wind, 4th Generation Kage was analyzing all the information and was shocked when he saw the fight between the Iwagakure ninja and the Kumogakure ninja. The Kingdom of Earth and the Kingdom of Thunder have a common enemy, Uchiha Sora, and this time the Kingdom of Thunder is also participating in the war through the border of the Kingdom of Earth. Even if the two parties do not form an alliance, they should at least not be hostile. Uchiha Sora was also very surprised when he got the news. I thought that the Kingdom of Thunder and the Kingdom of Earth would join forces to attack, but unexpectedly they started fighting dog eat dog. It wasn't until the pharmacist No Nayu sent a piece of information that he suddenly realized it. It turns out that Union Village, taking advantage of this opportunity to enter the Kingdom of Earth, had long harbored evil intentions and openly attacked its own border of the Kingdom of Grass. In fact, it was secretly accumulating strength to take advantage of the opportunity to attack the severely damaged Earth. The country launches a war. Unexpectedly, Onoki of the Earth Kingdom was not a vegetarian. He saw through the conspiracy of the Kingdom of Thunder, and Onoki immediately took the lead in launching an attack on the Kumogakure ninjas on the border. The Kingdom of Earth and the Kingdom of Thunder have a long history of grudges. Previously, the Third Raikage died at the hands of tens of thousands of Iwagakure ninjas, and there was a sea area between the Land of Earth and the Land of Thunder, and there had long been disputes over ownership issues. The Kingdom of Thunder realizes that it is powerful and wants to take advantage of this opportunity to completely cripple the Kingdom of Earth in order to obtain maximum benefits. This is why Uchiha Sora felt that the offensive of the Kumogakure ninjas was not strong. Because the elite forces of Union Village are all preparing to attack the Kingdom of Earth. This reversal made many forces in the ninja world dumbfounded. After Uchiha Sora got the news, he immediately ordered to shrink the front line and let Kumogakure and Iwagakure fight, while he watched from the sidelines. Not long after, the fourth generation Kazekage, with the idea of beating the drowned dog, secretly sneaked into the Land of Earth with an elite unit and directly attacked the Iwagakure village. Iwagakure village suffered heavy losses. In the end, Onoki had to sue for peace from the Kingdom of Wind and lost a lot of wealth and resources to the Kingdom of Wind. The fourth generation Kazekage then stopped attacking. This approach of fourth generation Kazekage has to be said to be very insidious. The Earth country, which had been severely beaten by Uchiha Kong, was taken advantage of and beaten until it lost its temper. After the Kingdom of Wind obtained a large amount of resources and wealth, it actually sent troops into the Kingdom of Fire. Konaha village's vitality has been severely damaged and has not yet recovered. It thought that this time it could sit on the sidelines and watch the fight between tigers and tigers, but it did not expect that it had already been targeted. After Sunagakure village's actions were known to Konaha village, Konaha sent ninjas to fight with them, and they paid a heavy price to block Sunagakure village's attack. At this point, fierce battles have taken place in the four major ninja villages in the ninja world. Thunder and Earth are at war, Wind and Earth are at war, Wind and Fire are at war. Only the Kingdom of Water, which is far away overseas, still maintains a wait-and-see attitude. Amidst the melee between many parties, the Fourth Ninja War gradually began. Uchiha Kong's focus is not on the war situation between the major ninja villages. He is always paying attention to the movements of the Akatsuki organization and Uchiha Obito. No matter how fierce the fight in the ninja world is, Uchiha Sora will not take it seriously, as long as Uchiha Obito doesn't succeed again. Thinking that this war would definitely be an opportunity for Uchiha Obito to fish in troubled waters, Uchiha Sora decided to take the lead. Especially those Jinchuriki, you still have to find opportunities to get in touch with them. As for the Jinchuriki that he has not come into contact with so far, apart from the missing 3 tails and 4 tails, there are only 1 tail, 7 tails, 8 tails and 9 tails. The 8 tails killer bee is very powerful and there is no need to contact it for the time being, so the target is 1 tail, 7 tails and 9 tails. According to what Shibuki said, the 7 tails Jinchuriki went to Konaha to take refuge, and now Konaha village has 2 Jinchuriki in its hands. It seems like I'll go to Konaha first this time. After thinking about it, Uchiha made a decision. Konaha village. Uchiha Sora walked on the bustling and lively street. Returning to Konaha again made him feel a little emotional. All the way to the gate of the ninja school, he stopped and suddenly remembered the time he had spent in the ninja school. The targets of his visit this time, 7 tails Jinchuriki Fu and 9 tails Jinchuriki Uzumaki Naruto, are both studying in ninja schools. The figure flashed, and Uchiha passed through the gate of the ninja school silently. As he walked on the playground, he occasionally saw teacher Chunin who was teaching in the classroom. Jingle bell. At this time, the get out of class bell suddenly rang. The students rushed out of the classroom happily and came to the playground to play. When a ninja teacher saw Uchiha Sora, a stranger, he couldn't help but stepped forward and asked, "Who are you? Are you here to find someone?" Because Uchiha Sora was only wearing white clothes at this time and did not have the Uchiha family emblem, teacher Chunin did not recognize him. Uchiha Kong smiled slightly. "I'm looking for Hirai Mitsuaki." "Koki Hirai. Oh, you are talking about Mr. Koki. He is in office 301 on the 2nd floor. Teacher Chunin breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that Uchiha Sora knew Mitsu Hirai and smiled Kaido. "Thank you." Uchiha Sky's Path thanked. Hirai Mitsuki was a member of the team that he was assigned to with Azuki Yugao when he graduated early. Before leaving Konoha, the two had always had a good relationship. When he returned to Konaha this time, in addition to meeting Jinchuriki, Uchiha Sora also wanted to get together with his old friends. After learning the office location of Hiraikuki, Uchiha Sora went all the way to find it. Along the way, he saw almost all the children playing on the playground, except for the figure of a blonde child sitting alone on the swing. That is Uzumaki Naruto. Uchiha Sora couldn't help but walk towards him when he saw this. Uzumaki Naruto noticed someone approaching and couldn't help but raise his head and look at Uchiha Sora. He found that Uchiha Sora was looking at him, with a look of confusion on his face. "Brother, why do you keep looking at me?" Uchiha smiled and said, "Why don't you play with others?" When Naruto Uzumaki heard this, his face suddenly became sad and he whispered, "They won't play with me." "They won't play with you, how about I play with you?" Uchiha said with a smile. Are you playing with me?" Naruto was stunned and said warily, "You're not a bad person, are you?" Uchiha shook his head and laughed. "Have you never been able to learn the clone technique? I can teach you." As soon as he heard that Uchiha Sora was going to teach him ninjutsu, Naruto became interested and his eyes lit up. "Really? Really, big brother, are you going to teach me ninjutsu?" Uchiha nodded with a smile. He walked up to Naruto, planted a kunai on the ground, and then reached out and put his hand on his shoulder. "It's not convenient to teach you ninjutsu here. I'll take you somewhere else first." Naruto was stunned, but in a blink of an eye, he found that he had arrived under a huge towering tree. There is a wooden house under the big tree, and the two of them are standing in an open space in front of the wooden house. What is this place?" Naruto was stunned. He couldn't figure out why he came to such a strange place in a blink of an eye. However, the environment here is so beautiful. At this time, Uchiha said, "Naruto, let me teach you a ninjutsu that is more powerful than ordinary clone techniques." "Ah, big brother, how do you know my name?" Naruto said in surprise. Uchiha smiled and said nothing, silently formed the shadow clone seal, and released 3 shadow clone. 3 identical shadow clone appeared next to them, immediately attracting Naruto's attention. Naruto shouted, "Isn't this just an ordinary clone technique? It doesn't look like anything at all. This is a shadow clone. Each clone is an entity." Uchiha asked the 3 shadow clone to release a Rasengan and hit the ground. Suddenly, several pits exploded on the ground. Naruto was dumbfounded at this sight. After being stunned for a long time, he came back to his senses and looked at Uchiha with stars in his eyes. "Wow. It's so awesome. What kind of ninjutsu is that little blue ball that exploded the ground just now? I want to learn it." Seeing this, Uchiha shook his head. "You can't learn that ninjutsu at this stage. Let's wait until you learn the shadow clone technique first." "Okay, then I'll learn shadow clone first. Then you must teach me the ninjutsu just now." Naruto suddenly became interested. "Well, no problem, you should learn shadow clone first." Uchiha nodded. Next, Uchiha Kong taught Naruto the shadow clone seal technique and asked Naruto to practice it on his own. However, the 9 tails in Naruto's body has been disrupting his chakra, making it difficult for him to learn a ninjutsu well. Uchiha Kong frowned slightly when he saw this, and released a genjutsu at Naruto. Uchiha Sora's genjutsu skills are so powerful. Even if he cannot use Sharingan, he can easily see into other people's hearts through genjutsu when using genjutsu in normal state. Through genjutsu, Uchiha Sora quickly found the 9 tails sealed space hidden deep in Naruto's heart. In front of the huge cage, Uchiha Sora and Naruto stood side by side on the ground full of water. When Naruto came to this place for the first time, he couldn't help but look around, with a little hesitation on his face. "Brother, where is this place? Why is it so dark here? Is it dark?" He thought it was Uchiha Sora who took him to another place again. "Naruto." At this moment, a deep voice came from the darkness ahead. "Who?" Naruto was immediately startled by the voice and looked forward intently. In the darkness ahead, a huge iron cage suddenly appeared. Behind the iron cage is a pair of huge crimson beast eyes, full of evil aura. Immediately afterwards, Naruto saw that the owner of these beast eyes turned out to be an extremely huge fox. The fox exuded a cold and powerful aura, staring coldly at Naruto and Uchiha Sora. Naruto was immediately frightened and sat down on the ground, at a loss. At this time, Uchiha Sora on the side finally spoke. He looked at Nine-Tails and said slowly, "Nine-Tails, how about you listen to me?" Nine-Tails' attention was immediately attracted to Uchiha Kong. A pair of beast eyes looked at him with a dangerous aura and said in a low voice, "Who are you? You can find this place, aren't you afraid of being killed by me?" "Let me introduce myself, I am Uchiha Kong." Uchiha Kong smiled lightly and said, "I'm sorry, your scare tactics don't work on me." "Uchiha Kong, are you from the Uchiha clan?" Upon hearing this, Nine-Tails' tone suddenly dropped. As if recalling some bad memories, Nine-Tails' eyes suddenly became bloodshot. It glared at Uchiha and shouted, "Evil Uchiha! Get out of here!" A powerful aura rushed towards him, making Naruto tremble in fear. Uchiha Kong still looked calm and said slowly, "Nine-Tails, I just want to tell you that if you don't want to be controlled by others anymore, then assist Naruto properly and stop doing things that interfere with Naruto's chakra. What a stupid thing to do, it won't do you any good at all." "Uchiha Kong, what do you mean by this?" Nine-Tails' eyes narrowed. "Nothing, I'm just here to kindly remind you that someone in this world is trying to collect tailed beasts. If you don't want to die, it's best to be obedient. That's all. Think about it yourself." Uchiha Kong finally said. "Naruto, let's go." Uchiha pulled Naruto aside and took him out of the sealed space. Back to reality, Naruto still didn't come back to his senses for a long time. The scene he just saw has left an indelible memory in his mind. After a long time, he finally said, "Brother, where was that place just now? What on earth is that big fox?" Uchiha Kong smiled and explained, "That is actually the monster that everyone in Konaha village is afraid of, the Nine-Tails demon fox, which is also the tailed beast. And it is sealed in your body." "Nine-Tails demon fox, it's actually sealed in my body. So, am I really a monster?" Naruto couldn't help but be stunned. He couldn't help but think of the time when the village was attacked by the Nine-Tails demon fox and suffered heavy casualties. Even the fourth Hokage died in that disaster. It turns out that all of this is really related to me. Uchiha touched his head and said, "The Nine-Tails demon fox is just sealed in your body, and you are not a monster. Those who say you are a monster are just ignorant people. Am I not a monster? Big brother, don't you think of me as a monster?" Naruto was very moved when he heard this. He found that for the first time, someone would comfort him like this, and he couldn't stop crying. "You are not a monster, and there are people like you in this world who have tailed beasts sealed in their bodies. You are called Jinchuriki, and you are one of the most powerful ninjas in every village. Every Jinchuriki is extremely powerful, even comparable to Hokage," Uchiha Sora continued. Really, Naruto seemed to be listening to a book from heaven. Hearing Uchiha Kong say that Jinchuriki could be as powerful as Hokage, his face was full of longing. "Of course. But if you want to become as powerful as Hokage, you must undergo arduous training. Moreover, you must also try to communicate well with the tailed beast in your body and influence the tailed beast. You will be able to perfectly utilize the power of the tailed beast in the future. It's not impossible to surpass the Hokage," Uchiha Sora continued. Naruto was stunned for a while. Uchiha Kong knew that it would be difficult for Naruto to digest so much information for a while. So after saying this, he stopped talking and continued to guide him in practicing the shadow clone technique. This time, Naruto quickly mastered the use of shadow clone and successfully separated a dozen shadow clone. Seeing this scene, Uchiha couldn't help but secretly admire Naruto's training talent, which was worthy of inheriting the genes of 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato. Although Naruto's basic knowledge is very lacking, his physical training talent is excellent. With the guidance of words and deeds, he can easily learn a ninjutsu. However, this also has something to do with the fact that the Nine-Tails in his body no longer interferes with Naruto's practice. It seems that this meeting with Nine-Tails is still effective. "Yeah, I learned it. Naruto jumped up happily. "Thank you, big brother, you are such a good person." He thanked him with a touched face. Uchiha raised his hand and patted him on the shoulder, leaving a flying thunder god mark on him, and said, "Let's go, I will take you back, remember, don't tell others that you have seen me." "Yeah," Naruto nodded hurriedly. Whoosh. In a flash, Uchiha took Naruto back to the swing in the school playground. It was already evening at this time, and most people in the ninja school had already left. Uchiha Kong took back the kunai on the ground, patted Naruto on the head and said, "Go back, let's say goodbye here, I will come to you if anything happens in the future." After the sudden separation, Naruto's face was full of reluctance. Although the two of them met and spent less than half a day together, within half a day, Uchiha Kong not only taught him the powerful shadow clone technique, but also let him know the identity of the monster in his body, so that he no longer continued to be confused. Lonely. Naruto reluctantly left. Uchiha closed his eyes and stood on the playground, his perception spreading, sensing everything around him. The next second, he opened his eyes and looked forward. A young man wearing glasses walked toward him from a short distance away. The young man walked up to Uchiha Sora and looked at him steadily, shining with excitement and complexity. "It's really you, Sora. Why did you show up in Konaha?" Hirai Mitsuki looked at Uchiha Sora, friends meeting each other, excited but with a hint of awe. "What, I'm not welcome to come see you," Uchiha said with a smile. Hirai Kuki was stunned for a moment, then laughed, and the trace of awe in his heart disappeared at any time. "Welcome, of course you are welcome, but your reputation is too great now. Aren't you afraid that our Hokage masters will lead Anbu to surround you immediately if they find out that you are here?" Hirai Kuki also laughed, raised his hand and punched you on Uchiha Sora's chest. "You have to be careful." The relationship between the two people seemed to have returned to the time when they performed the mission together. 10 minutes later, the two were sitting in a pub, drinking and chatting. Hirai Mitsuaki tells some interesting stories about his life after becoming a Chunin teacher. As for Uchiha Sora's deeds, he was very knowledgeable and didn't ask any more questions. As the two chatted, Hirai Kuki suddenly asked, "By the way, Sora, does Shiyan know about your return to Konaha?" When Uchiha heard this, he couldn't help but think of that graceful figure with long purple hair. When he parted with her at the gate of Kusanagi village, the shallow kiss he gave her still left a deep impression on him to this day. "I just came back and haven't gone to see her yet." Uchiha shook his head. "Okay, I thought you had already met her." Hirai Mitsuki glanced at Uchiha Sora and said, "But Yuga has resigned from Anbu not long ago and is currently on vacation. I heard that she is planning to give up her career as a ninja." Quote. At night, inside the Konaha village training ground, a graceful figure is practicing sword practice. Her purple hair is dancing in the wind, and her movements are flowing. It's the sunset of Mao Yu. Wearing a black robe, she looked like an ancient swordswoman, elegant and beautiful. Uchiha Kong came here and quietly watched the other party practice. As if sensing something, the purple-haired figure suddenly stopped, raised his long sword and attacked in the direction of Uchiha Sora. Uchiha Kong smiled slightly. He made a mistake in his steps, his figure flashed, he pulled out the sword from his waist and faced him. Ding! The two swords intertwined, causing violent sparks. A smile broke out on Uoyuki Shien's face, and she took back her sword. "Sora, why did you come to Konaha?" Uchiha Kong also took back his long sword and said with a smile, "I haven't been back for a long time, so naturally I came here to see my old friends." "So, you came here specifically to see me?" Shiyan said in surprise. Seeing the surprised smile on Shiyan's face, Uchiha Sora naturally wouldn't say that he was here to find Jinchuriki, but nodded with a smile. Shiyan was very happy when he saw this. He threw down his sword and took Uchiha to sit on the grass beside him and started chatting. It was already night, and the two of them were looking at the stars and chatting about many interesting things. While chatting, Shiyan blushed slightly, slowly leaned on Uchiha Sora's shoulder, and gently closed her eyes. The air seemed to become extremely quiet at this moment, and a strange aura arose. A wisp of fragrance penetrated into Uchiha Sora's nose. This was the smell of Yugao's body. "Shiyan, I heard that you resigned from Anbu." In order to relieve this strange emotion, Uchiha said in a free voice. Hearing this, Shiyan was slightly startled, nodded and said, "Yes, I am tired of Anbu's career, and I don't want to continue to be Anbu anymore." "Why?" Uchiha asked involuntarily. Shiyan glanced at him and sighed. "Thanks to you, the ninja world has changed too fast recently. The Kingdom of Wind, the Kingdom of Thunder, and the Kingdom of Earth have gone to war with each other, and the Kingdom of Fire must not be able to survive alone. Moreover, Tsunade-sama recently returned to the village, and Jiraiya-sama often appears in the village. There are rumors in the village that Konaha will also join this ninja war. When the time comes, as a Konaha ninja, you will stand from the standpoint of the country of grass. We may be at war with each other. I don't want to be in trouble when the time comes, so it's better to retreat. Hearing Shien's words, Uchiha couldn't help but feel a warm current in his heart. He nodded and said, "Okay, Anbu's career is too dangerous. It would be good to leave Anbu. What are your plans next? What are your next plans? Let's take some time off first. When I have enough rest, I will go to the country of grass to find you," Shi Yan said with a smile. "Okay, if you come to Grass Ninja Village, of course I will welcome you with both hands." "Yes." A bright smile appeared on Shi Yan's face, and she leaned on Uchiha Sora's shoulder and said softly, "The night here is so beautiful, shall we sit here until dawn tonight?" Sit until dawn. Uchiha turned his head to look at Shien's beautiful profile and nodded. However, soon the guy who disturbed the scenery came. Behind the two of them, 3 Anbu suddenly appeared with a whoosh. "Uchiha Sora, our Hokage-sama invites you," an Anbu said in an extremely wary tone. Shien had no choice but to leave Uchiha Sora's shoulder, looked at him helplessly and said, "It seems that Master Hokage has discovered you." Uchiha Sora had no choice but to stand up, looked at the 3 Anbu, and said coldly, "Don't you see that I have something to do now? Since the 3rd Hokage wants to find me, let him come by himself." The 3 Anbu looked at each other in shock. Because Uchiha Sora's tone was so arrogant that he didn't even give face to their respected Hokage-sama. But they were very afraid of Uchiha Sora's power, so they could only freeze in place and didn't know how to respond. "Uchiha Kong, you are now our #1 concern in Konaha. When you come to Konaha, I, the Hokage, will have trouble sleeping and eating." At this time, an old voice sounded. I saw the 3rd Hokage coming from behind the 3 Anbu. Along with 3rd Hokage, there were 2 consultants and another blonde beauty with an explosive figure. The blonde beauty was none other than Tsunade. "Sora, you're fine." Tsunade waved and said hello. It turns out to be Tsunade-senpai. Uchiha raised his hand and greeted her. Although the hypocrisy of the 3rd Hokage is disgusting, Tsunade still has to give her face. "Uchiha Sora, could you come to the conference room with me?" 3rd Hokage asked again. A flash of light flashed in Uchiha's empty eyes. Tsunade said from the side, "It's about some situations of this ninja war. As the leader of the Grass Ninja Village, we need to have a good talk with you." "Okay." Uchiha nodded. He asked Shi Yan to go back first, while he followed 3rd Hokage and Tsunade to the conference room. Although they were in Konoha's territory, Uchiha Kong was not worried at all that 3rd Hokage would lay an ambush for him. After entering the conference room all the way, the 2 parties sat down. "Uchiha Sky's Path, just tell me if you have anything to say." The 3rd Hokage and the 2 advisors looked at each other, and the 3rd Hokage said, "Uchiha Kong, the development of this war is unexpected. Just 2 days ago, a team of elites from the Sunagakur village of the Wind Country entered our Fire Country and fought against them. Our ninjas are at war, and the intention of Sunagakur village to provoke war against Konaha is very obvious, so I hope Konaha can reach cooperation with Kusanagi village." Cooperation. Uchiha Kong couldn't help but frown when he heard this. "Do you think I will agree to cooperate with you?" The 3rd Hokage shook his head. "I know of course you won't promise me, but I hope you can promise Tsunade." Uchiha Sora looked at Tsunade with confusion on his face. "Tsunade-senpai, do you want to be a lobbyist?" Tsunade shook her head. At this time, the 3rd Hokage said, "I have decided to withdraw from the position of Hokage and pass Tsunade as the 5th Hokage. From now on, everything in Konaha village will be solely decided by Tsunade." "I see." The 3rd Hokage actually abdicated and handed over the position of the 5th Hokage to Tsunade. And because of the relationship between himself and Tsunade, it may be possible to achieve cooperation between Konaha and the Grass Ninja Village. I have to say that 3rd Hokage's actions were indeed very cunning. Unfortunately, he still underestimated Uchiha Sora's hatred for him. Uchiha Kong looked at Tsunade, shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, although you and I are masters and disciples, and I have always been taken care of by you, but there are some things that cannot be offset by this kind of favor. I tell you very clearly that I will not cooperate with the Leaf Village. Uchiha looked at the third Hokage and said calmly, unless you can die to apologize. Apologize with death. In the past, who would have dared to say such words in front of Shinobi third Hokage? But now, Uchiha Sora's words silenced everyone present. Because Uchiha Sora is now the leader of the Grass Ninja Village and a strong man who defeated the Earth Country troops. Forget it, Sora, in that case, let's just pretend that we haven't talked about cooperation before. At this time, Tsunade said. It was absolutely impossible for her to watch her teacher die. Uchiha Kong waved his hand after hearing this. In that case, I don't have anything to do here, so I'll take my leave first. After saying that, his figure flashed and disappeared in front of everyone. Everyone watched Uchiha Sora leaving and couldn't help but look at each other. After a long time, third Hokage couldn't help but let out a long sigh. At this time, he already felt regret in his heart. I regret that I shouldn't have indulged Danzo so much, and even more regret that I allowed Danzo to attack Shisui. Otherwise, Konaha would not be where it is today. When Uchiha Sora appeared again, he had already come to Yuga, who was on her way home. Sora, how was your talk with Hokage-sama? Seeing Uchiha Sora appear, Yuga couldn't help but ask. Uchiha smiled and shook his head. Shion gently held his hand and said softly, Song, no matter what decision you make, I will support you. The two of them walked in the night and stopped when they came to the downstairs of Shion's house. Shion looked at Uchiha Sora, her face turned slightly red and she said, my parents are not at home today, how about you stay at my house tonight? Uchiha was stunned for a moment, and couldn't help but look a little weird. Something seemed to come to mind, and the look in Shion's eyes became strange. Sensing Uchiha Sora's gaze, Shion's face turned even redder, and she stamped her feet angrily, then turned around and said, forget it, since you have the Flying Thunder God, it's very convenient to go back, so I won't keep you here. After Shion finished speaking, she quickly entered the house, slammed the door, and threw Uchiha outside. She leaned against the door, her heart beating violently, and her face turned red. Outside the door, Uchiha smiled, activated the Flying Thunder God technique, and disappeared instantly. Naturally, he went back to Kusanagi village to sleep. The next day, Uchiha Sora returned to Konaha and found another Jinchuriki, Seven-Tails Jinchuriki Fu, at the ninja school. Unlike Naruto, Fu moved to Konaha in recent days. Her identity is very secret. Except for the top management of Konaha, almost no one knows that she is Seven-Tails Jinchuriki. So Fu lived a very comfortable life in the ninja school and had some friends. After Uchiha Kong found her, he didn't communicate with her much. He just quietly left a Flying Thunder God mark on her body and left again. In this way, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and Seven-Tails Jinchuriki both have the coordinates of the Flying Thunder God. Once any problem occurs to them, he can quickly rush over to deal with it. This is the best way to prevent Uchiha Obito from attacking Jinchuriki. After that, he went to Sand Hidden Village again and quietly left a mark of the Flying Thunder God on Gaara's body. At this point, except for the captured 3 tails and 4 tails, among the 9 Jinchuriki, only 8 tails is left without coordinates. The other Jinchuriki are basically under Uchiha Kong's control. It is almost impossible for Uchiha Obito to collect all the tailed beasts. In the days that followed, Uchiha spent a long time practicing under the towering tree in the original Tokigakure village to understand the power of nature. Regarding the war in the ninja world, Uchiha Kong did not interfere too much. Although Cloud Hidden Village occasionally sent people to rescue Wooden Golem, they all ended in failure. After many unsuccessful rescue attempts, Kumogakure had to temporarily give up the idea of rescuing the second-tailed Jinchuriki. After the Kingdom of Earth was crippled, it kept shrinking its defenses. After the Kingdom of Thunder got a lot of benefits from the Kingdom of Earth, it turned its head and targeted the Kingdom of Fire. The Kingdom of Wind is also constantly sending elites to the Kingdom of Fire to cause trouble. The atmosphere in Konaha village suddenly became a little tense. At this time, Konaha village held the succession ceremony of the 5th Hokage. After the succession ceremony, 5th Hokage Tsunade changed the 3rd Hokage's policy of being gentle towards the enemy, and immediately issued orders one after another to decisively counterattack the Kingdom of Thunder and the Kingdom of Wind. The Fire Nation has gone from being passive and being beaten to taking the initiative. Although the strength of Konaha village has not yet recovered, Konaha's determination made both the 4th Raikage and the 4th generation Kazekage feel a little wary, and their actions were somewhat restrained. The 4 kingdoms were in melee, and the ninja world was in raging war. The Akatsuki organization took advantage of the war period to take on war missions aggressively, obtaining all kinds of intelligence while plotting against Jinchuriki. In comparison, Uchiha Sora is more like an outsider. Every day he either experiences natural energy or practices with Izumi and Shiro. His understanding of Sage Jutsu is getting deeper and deeper, and his strength is constantly increasing. On this day, Uchiha Sora was feeling the energy of nature under a giant tree. Suddenly, he came up with the idea of creating his own ninjutsu. In the process of constantly understanding natural energy these days, I discovered that the nature of natural energy is actually the same as the tailed beast chakra. It's just that the tailed beast is created by yin-yang style, which is equivalent to natural energy with its own will and life. This also means that he can seal natural energy into his body like a tailed beast. If you seal natural energy into your own body, transform and utilize it, you may be able to become a special Jinchuriki. Thinking of this, Uchiha couldn't help but start trying. He tried to attract natural energy into the body, not allowing it to combine with physical energy and spiritual energy into Sage Jutsu chakra, but to leave it alone in the body. At the same time, he tried to use the yin sealing technique to seal this part of the natural energy. However, after several attempts, Uchiha Sora ended up failing. The point of failure is that ordinary yin seals can hardly retain natural energy, and violent natural energy is not constrained by yin seals at all. It seems that the yin seal cannot store natural energy, so we can only find other methods. After the attempt failed, Uchiha Kong frowned and fell into thought. Suddenly, he thought of the curse seal Orochimaru was studying. The curse seal is a technique developed based on Jongo's physique. Jongo has the ability to integrate natural energy into the body, and directly perform sage transformation under the influence of natural energy. Sage transformation is also a type of sage mode, except that it cannot absorb natural energy by its own will and cannot control it. But for Uchiha Kong, this is something that can be further studied. Looks like I have to go find Orochimaru, Uchiha thought secretly in his heart. During the continuous wars during this period, the Grass Ninja Village also collected a lot of information on the corpses of ninja elites, and this information has been kept in the Grass Ninja Village's database. This time I went to Orochimaru. In addition to getting information about the curse seal from him, I also had to ask him if he could still get White Zetsu's body. The White Zetsu body is the best sacrifice for the reincarnation of the Dirty Land. The 10 White Zetsu that Uchiha Sora obtained from Orochimaru before have almost been used up. New supplies must be obtained. Moreover, after Sasuke was taken away by Orochimaru, he doesn't know how he is doing now. In the original work, Urzu always pretends to be cool and gets beaten. But now that he is a member of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Sora will not really leave him alone. Thinking of this, Uchiha Kong quietly left the place of training and went to Tiano Country Sound Ninja Village alone. Orochimaru has now separated from the Akatsuki organization and founded the Sound Ninja Village in Tiano Country. As the leader of the Sound Ninja Village, he secretly developed the ninja force. It is difficult to get information about Orochimaru's whereabouts, and there is no relevant information from Nono, so Uchiha Kong plans to go directly to the Sound Ninja Village to find him. Not long after, he arrived at the gate of Sound Ninja Village. Although Oto Ninja Village is a small ninja village, with Orochimaru in charge, its strength cannot be underestimated. What's more, Orochimaru likes to collect talents with special abilities from all over the ninja world, so there are many talents in the Sound Ninja Village and the potential is very great. Uchiha was dressed in white clothes with a sword on his waist, just like a swordsman in white clothes. His arrival immediately attracted the attention of the Sound Ninja Village guards. "Who is it?" the guard ninja shouted in front of Uchiha Kong. Uchiha Kong said calmly, "The leader of Kusanagi Village, come to visit Orochimaru." Chief of the Grass Ninja Village. The gatekeeper ninja couldn't help but be startled when he heard this. But then he seemed to have thought of something, his expression suddenly changed, and he hurriedly said, "Are you the White Shinigami Uchiha Sora?" White Shinigami. Uchiha couldn't help but smile. His title in the ninja world has spread to the Oto ninja village. Uchiha Sora-sama, are you looking for Orochimaru-sama? The gatekeeper ninja stammered. Orochimaru-sama's whereabouts are elusive. He should not be in the village. Really, I think you should have a way to contact him, right? Uchiha Kong frowned and said, after all, I have come from afar, and I won't give up until I see Orochimaru. Yes, I will find a way to contact Mr. Orochimaru right now. The gatekeeper ninja said hurriedly. After all, Uchiha Sora is called the White Shinigami, which is a title given by real killers. The number of ninjas who have died in his hands so far is at least 1,000. If he is upset, killing people here will be troublesome. Got it. The gatekeeper ninjas carefully invited Uchiha Sora into the village and arranged drinks to serve him. Then he went to the senior official in charge of the village and told him about Uchiha Sora's visit. When the head ninja of the Sound Ninja village heard that Uchiha Sora came to the Sound Ninja village in person, he was naturally extremely nervous. He quickly contacted Orochimaru through a secret method and reported the matter to Orochimaru, who was doing experiments in a secret base. As Uchiha empty, this guy finally found him. After receiving the news, Orochimaru smiled lowly, put away the experimental device, and said to the bespectacled boy standing aside, Kabuto, I'll leave this to you first. Look, I have to go back, there's a troublesome guy here. Orochimaru, you are very busy. Uchiha waited for a long time at the head office of the Sound Ninja village, and finally saw Orochimaru arriving, and couldn't help but smile. Ha ha ha, Uchiha Kong-kun, you don't go to the Three Treasure Hall for anything. What do you want to do when you come to my territory this time? Orochimaru smiled gloomily at Kaido, with a hint of nervousness in his tone. Orochimaru, don't worry, I'm not here to cause trouble for you. Although I have always kept in mind the fact that you took Sasuke away quietly, but when I came here today, I didn't come here to ask you to get Sasuke back. Uchiha Sky's path. Orochimaru was slightly startled, and immediately narrowed his eyes. As expected, I still can't hide it from you, so what exactly is going on? I hope you can give me all the research information about the curse seal. I am very interested in your curse seal. Uchiha Kong said straightforwardly. Curse seal. Orochimaru was surprised again. That's right, I'm currently studying Sage Mode and need your curse seal information as inspiration. Uchiha said, closing his eyes slightly and then suddenly opening them. The next moment, a powerful aura emanated from his body. I saw an orange eye shadow appearing on the eyelids of both of his eyes. Just Mount Myoboku perfect Sage Mode. Orochimaru was shocked when he saw this, and exclaimed, Sage Mode. This is Mount Myoboku's Sage Mode. Where did you master it? Jiraiya. He was extremely confused. Logically speaking, from Jiraiya's position, it was impossible to teach Uchiha Sage Mode. Moreover, in his research, it seems that only people with special physiques can learn Sage Mode, and the Uchiha family's physique does not seem to be adapted to the power of Sage Mode. Why does Uchiha Sora have the power of Sage Mode? Orochimaru was filled with envy. It was because his physique did not meet the training conditions of Sage Mode that he was unable to master Sage Jutsu. He could only resort to the next best thing and study the power of the curse seal. He even went through reincarnation in order to adapt to the power of Sage Mode, but so far, he has not been able to learn Sage Mode. Orochimaru, this is the Sage Mode of Mount Myoboku, but this Sage Mode is not the end point I am pursuing. What I am pursuing is the true meaning of power. And your curse seal is also a kind of Sage Mode, so I hope you can help me. Uchiha said calmly. Orochimaru was shocked and murmured, is it the true meaning of pursuing power? It is really the pursuit of perfection. How about it, Orochimaru, are you willing to help me? He, Kong-kun, I'm afraid you won't give up if I don't agree, right? Orochimaru couldn't help but ask. Uchiha Kong smiled slightly, acquiescing. It seems that I can't refuse. Orochimaru shook his head and said helplessly, and now I don't seem to have enough strength to refuse you. Come with me. He turned and left. Uchiha Sora smiled lightly and followed Orochimaru. Orochimaru took him all the way out of the grass ninja village and headed towards the Land of Fire. The two of them walked for half a day before finally reaching the entrance of an underground base. Here, Uchiha Kong-kun, welcome to my experimental base. Orochimaru opened the entrance and invited Uchiha Kong inside. Uchiha Kong smiled slightly and stepped in without worrying about any traps waiting for him. In the dim underground passage, Uchiha followed Orochimaru all the way. Orochimaru, I didn't expect you to bring me to your experimental base. Aren't you afraid that I would know about your experiments? Uchiha couldn't help but laugh. Haha, Kong-kun, you and I are the same kind of people. In this ninja world, pure people like us should cherish each other. Orochimaru said to Kaido. Well, I'm really surprised that you would say such a thing. Think of this as some kind of honesty on my part, Orochimaru said. Uchiha smiled. The two of them walked along the long passage, passing by laboratories one after another, and occasionally some experimental objects were kept in some rooms. Finally, Orochimaru took Uchiha into a library. After searching on the bookcase filled with various information, Orochimaru took out a scroll, turned around and handed it to Uchiha Sora. This is the information about the curse seal, but there is another key condition for the curse seal. It requires genes from a certain child, and that child is not here now. Is it Jugo? Uchiha Sky's path. Haha, I didn't expect Kong-kun to know so much about me. Orochimaru was stunned and said in surprise. Uchiha Kong said calmly, I will accept this information. As for Jugo, I don't need it for the time being. He came to the secret art of curse seal mainly to study sage transformation, not necessarily to completely copy the usage of curse seal. Oh, by the way, Orochimaru, I wonder if you can still get white Zetsu. I still need a lot of white Zetsu, the more, the better. Uchiha Sora said after accepting the scroll. I have left the Akatsuki organization. It's not that easy to get the white Zetsus again. However, I do know where the white Zetsus are hiding. You can try to find them yourself. I believe that with your ability, you can catch them. White Zetsu is still very simple, Orochimaru said. After saying that, Orochimaru told Uchiha Sora where he knew the hiding place of white Zetsu. Thank you. Uchiha Kong couldn't help but thanked him after successfully getting the curse seal and the news about white Zetsu from Orochimaru. Orochimaru smiled slightly. Uchiha Sora prepares to leave. At this time, a voice suddenly came from the corridor outside. Lord Orochimaru, there are enemies invading the base. I saw a young man wearing glasses running in and shouting loudly. Orochimaru was slightly startled. Orochimaru frowned and said, Kabuto, who attacked here? Kabuto looked at Uchiha Sora next to Orochimaru. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes, and then Kaido said, it should be your old partner, the Red Sand Scorpion. Scorpion, the Akatsuki organization is really chasing after you. Orochimaru smiled sinisterly and asked, where's Sasuke? Sasuke is still over there in the training room. Well, let's go find Sasuke first, and then we'll meet that guy. Orochimaru nodded. Uchiha couldn't help but smile and said, it seems to be a coincidence. I am very interested in Akatsuki organization. In that case, I will go and have a look. That's really what I wish for, Orochimaru said. The three of them came to the training room and saw Sasuke undergoing basic physical training. Seeing Orochimaru appear, Sasuke couldn't help frowning and said politely, Orochimaru, what's the matter? Sasuke-kun, the base has been invaded. Your training is temporarily suspended. Please move positions with me first, Orochimaru explained. TCH, that's really troublesome. Sasuke curled his lips. At this time, he saw Uchiha Sora behind Orochimaru and was startled. Hey, Sasuke, long time no see. Uchiha raised his hand and said hello. Uchiha Sora. Sasuke couldn't help but whisper, why are you here? Of course I came to see how my people are doing here. Uchiha smiled and said, how about it? Do you want to go back to the village with me? Orochimaru on the side said hurriedly, Song-kun, Sasuke-kun can learn more from me. As the leader of the Grass Ninja Village, you don't have that much time to guide him, right? I'm fine here, tell my parents for me, and I will go back when I become strong enough. Sasuke also said. Uchiha smiled and glanced at Orochimaru. Don't worry, since Sasuke is willing to stay here, I won't force him. Then he said to Sasuke, I will help you bring it to you. He did not tell Sasuke about Fugaku's disappearance at the Loulan ruins. As he was talking, suddenly there was an explosion. Kabuto's expression changed and he said, the enemy has already invaded the experimental area. If he is allowed to move forward, the experimental data here will not be preserved. Let's go out and take a look. Uchiha waved his hand in vain. A group of 4 people hurriedly walked outside. On the passage leading to the outside world, a group of puppets wielding sharp blades were running rampant. Behind this group of puppets is a hunched figure. The man was wearing a black robe with red clouds. It's none other than the Akatsuki organization's Red Sand Scorpion. Latent Shadow Snake Hand. Orochimaru was the first to take action. He raised his arm, and suddenly several large snakes as thick as arms came out, entangled several puppets, and shook them violently, smashing the puppets to pieces. Orochimaru, you are indeed here. A hoarse voice came from the rickety body. Red Sand Scorpion, did the organization send you here, or did you come on your own? Orochimaru said with a gloomy smile. All of them. After all, I am also very interested in your research. If I can kill you and get everything from you, it will definitely be helpful to my eternal art. The Red Sand Scorpion said coldly. The tone was full of murderous intent. Tisk, what an arrogant guy. Orochimaru couldn't help but shook his head. A powerful aura spread out from the two of them. Sasuke on the side was immediately captured by these two momentums and stood there blankly. Is this the power of Orochimaru? So strong. Who is that guy? He can actually compete with Orochimaru. Sasuke was secretly surprised. Is that child Itachi's younger brother? At this time, the Red Sand Scorpion saw Sasuke and couldn't help but said hoarsely, compared to his brother Itachi, this guy is really far behind. Itachi. After Sasuke heard Uchiha Itachi's name, he immediately asked the Red Sand Scorpion, you mean Itachi? Where is he? Haha, he and I are in the same organization, do you want to see him? After I kill Orochimaru, I will make you into a puppet, and then I will take you to see him. The Red Sand Scorpion laughed in a low voice. Road. Sasuke was taken by the Red Sand Scorpion's words and opened his mouth, cold sweat falling from his forehead. The Red Sand Scorpion said to Orochimaru, Orochimaru, I want to make this guy into a puppet, do you have any objection? After hearing what Scorpion said, Orochimaru couldn't help but smile. Scorpion, if you want to touch Sasuke, you shouldn't ask me. You'd better ask the person next to me first. Huh. The Red Sand Scorpion couldn't help but stare at Uchiha Sora, who was standing next to Orochimaru. The Red Sand Scorpion looked at Uchiha Sora carefully and found that he looked familiar. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and he was shocked and said, You are Uchiha Kong. He, it seems you are not too slow. Orochimaru said with a smile before Uchiha Kong could answer. In the past, the Red Sand Scorpion would never have known Uchiha Sora. But in recent times, what happened to Uchiha Kong has spread throughout the ninja world. What's more, he also has the title of White Shinigami and Golden God of War, which is spread in the ninja world. Uchiha Kong's intelligence is the focus of attention among major organizations and forces. In the hands of the Red Sand Scorpion, there is naturally some intelligence and information about Uchiha Sora, including photos. Therefore, although the Red Sand Scorpion had never seen Uchiha Sora with his own eyes, he finally recognized him because he had seen his photos. After recognizing that it was Uchiha Sora, the Red Sand Scorpion immediately became nervous. At this time, Uchiha Kong said calmly, Scorpion of Red Sand, I have to say that you are very unlucky to meet me. Sir Uchiha Kong, are you going to get involved in the grudge between Orochimaru and I? The Red Sand Scorpion said coldly, Orochimaru is the target of our organization, do you dare to hinder our organization? Oh, are you threatening me? Uchiha smiled. No, I'm just stating a fact. Even you, Uchiha Kong, can't afford to offend our leader. Said the Red Sand Scorpion. Sorry, I'm really not afraid of your organization. Uchiha said calmly. Well, in that case, I will let Orochimaru go this time. Farewell, said the Red Sand Scorpion. After saying that, he was ready to leave. Not sloppy at all. Scorpion, now that you are here, don't leave. Orochimaru raised his hand and used the latent snake hand again, attacking towards Scorpion. Boom! A black poisonous mist suddenly exploded between the two parties. Orochimaru's expression changed, he hurriedly picked up Sasuke and hurriedly dodged back. Uchiha Sora and Kabuto also quickly retreated. He actually ran away. The four of them were blocked by the poisonous mist, and Sasuke couldn't help but be shocked. Although he was still young, he was still very smart, so he naturally realized that it was Uchiha Sora who scared the scorpion away. Unexpectedly, a master of the same organization as Itachi, a strong man who dared to threaten to kill Orochimaru, would actually choose to run away after hearing Uchiha Sora's name. What does that mean? Doesn't this mean that Uchiha Sora's power is far beyond his imagination? Is Uchiha Sora that strong? Although he didn't see Uchiha take action, Sasuke was still deeply shocked. In comparison, the powerful and almighty Orochimaru in his eyes pales in comparison. When the poisonous mist dissipated, Orochimaru looked at Uchiha Kong and smiled. "Song-kun, did you just let the scorpion go?" "Don't worry, he can't run away," Uchiha said calmly. While speaking, he had already activated Sage Mode. The powerful perception ability has already locked the escaping scorpion. Sage Mode's perception range is extremely wide, and it doesn't matter even if Sage is allowed to run a little further. Immediately afterwards, Uchiha's figure flashed and he chased out of the passage. "Let's catch up and take a look," Orochimaru said to Kabuto and Sasuke beside him. "Yeah," Sasuke and Kabuto both nodded hastily. Sasuke was really looking forward to seeing Uchiha Sora take action in person, and naturally he didn't want to miss it. Outside the experimental base is an endless forest. When Orochimaru, Kabuto, and Sasuke found Uchiha Sora, they found that he had successfully stopped the Red Sand Scorpion. At this time, the Red Sand Scorpion was blocked. Knowing that the battle was inevitable, he couldn't help but said coldly, "Uchiha Kong, you are really bullying me. Do you really think I am afraid of you?" As soon as he finished speaking, the mouth of Hirauko where the Red Sand Scorpion was hiding opened, and suddenly several fine poisonous needles flew towards the sky of Uchiha. Uchiha Kong was in Sage Mode at this time, and these poisonous needles could not hit him at all. He had already avoided the attack of the poisonous needles with a slight flick of his body. Not only that, he did not retreat but advanced, and actually rushed directly in front of Fei Liuhu. "Raise your hand and punch." Boom. Fei Liuhu had no time to dodge and was beaten to pieces on the spot. This scene happened to be seen by Orochimaru and others who rushed nearby. The three of them couldn't help but be surprised. This is the power of Sage Mode. It broke the scorpion's shell in one go. "It's so powerful," Orochimaru said with a bright smile. Sage Mode. This is a state that even Orochimaru-sama cannot reach. Kabuto observed this scene and thought to himself. Sasuke had already been overwhelmed by Uchiha Sora's strength, and he was extremely envious. He murmured to himself, "If I had this kind of power, I would definitely be able to defeat Itachi." Orochimaru heard Sasuke muttering to himself and couldn't help but laugh. "Sasuke-kun, this is not Sora-kun's true power. His truly powerful power is Sharingan." Sharingan. Sasuke was shocked. Previously, after Uchiha Itachi rebelled against the clan, he started the single Magatama Sharingan. And recently, under Orochimaru's training, he successfully developed Sharingan to the second Magatama state. But in his opinion, although Sharingan is easy to use and convenient, it is not necessarily very powerful. Orochimaru's words made him doubtful, and he couldn't help but ask, "Orochimaru, what is the power of Sharingan you are talking about? Do you know Sharingan very well?" "Haha, Sasuke-kun, although I am not from the Uchiha clan, I have done a lot of research on your Sharingan." Orochimaru shook his head and laughed. "The highest level of your Uchiha clan's Sharingan under normal circumstances is the 3 Magatama state, but above the 3 Magatama Sharingan, there is another kind of power, and that is Mangekyo Sharingan." Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke was slightly shocked, suddenly remembering the strange-shaped Sharingan pattern he had seen on his brothers. It is said that only when you lose an important person, you can have a chance to open your eyes. Orochimaru said, "The power of Mangekyo Sharingan is far superior to the 3 Magatama Sharingan, and Uchiha Sora relies on the power of Mangekyo Sharingan. Known as the Golden God of War by everyone, his title is resounding throughout the ninja world, even I am no match for him." So that's it. This guy is actually so strong. Sasuke couldn't help but be shocked when he heard these things for the first time. Uchiha Sora is so powerful that even Orochimaru feels inferior to him. No wonder the scorpion chose to run away. And Itachi also has eyes like that. If he wants to defeat Itachi, does he have to activate the Mangekyo Sharingan? Sasuke instantly felt the pressure on his body become heavier. He couldn't help clenching his fists. Now, he really knows nothing about strength. At this time, Scorpion's true body has been exposed, and he looks like a young man from the outside. He looked at Uchiha Kong coldly, took out a scroll from behind and opened it. Bang! A humanoid puppet appeared in front of Uchiha Sora. The puppet wears a gray robe and looks very much like an ordinary person. It's appeared. Is this the third generation Cage? Orochimaru said with a strange smile. This is Scorpion's trump card puppet. Third generation Cage. Sasuke was surprised. What do you mean? Kabuto on the side explained. In the puppet technique mastered by the Red Sand Scorpion, there is a technique that can make living people into puppets. The puppets produced by this technique can maintain all the abilities of the puppet during life, including the blood inheritance limit. Quote. This kind of puppet is called a human puppet. Human puppet. Sasuke's expression changed after hearing this, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Is it so scary? This guy actually turned living people into puppets. It's even more unacceptable than Orochimaru's experiment. Could it be that he made this puppet using the third generation Cage? Sasuke asked in surprise. That's right, don't think that the Red Sand Scorpion is a weakling. With your current strength, even 100 or 1,000 are no match for him. Orochimaru glanced at Sasuke, his tone playful. Sasuke nodded silently. At this time, the Red Sand Scorpion in the field had already controlled the third generation Cage and rushed towards Uchiha Sora. I saw a giant blade suddenly protruding from third generation Cage's sleeve, with little bits of cold light flashing on the blade. The blade is made of a special material. It is very hard at first glance, and it is obviously full of poison. Uchiha drew out his long sword, and a bolt of thunder and lightning burst out from the blade. Swordsmanship thunder crack, stab. A dazzling arc of lightning sword flew forward along the Uchiha sky sword and hit the third generation Cage puppet. But third generation Cage raised the blade in front of him and blocked the sword. It's just that Uchiha Sora's slash was in Sage mode, and it was extremely powerful. Although the blade of the third generation Cage was made of special materials, it was still unable to withstand Uchiha Sora's lightning slash. After blocking this sword, the blade also shattered in response and fell to the ground. Upon seeing this, the Red Sand Scorpion hurriedly raised his hand and pulled third generation Cage back. As expected of Uchiha Sora, in that case, let me let you taste the power of the third generation Cage. The Red Sand Scorpion said coldly. I saw third generation Cage spreading his arms, and a patch of fine black sand suddenly rose up around him. The black sand formed a large cloud and mist, surrounding it. Suddenly, the black sand condensed into fine black needles in midair, shooting towards Uchiha Sora. The black needles were as fine as rain and had an extremely wide range, covering the entire sky of Uchiha in the blink of an eye. This move is the limit of the third generation Cage's blood succession, magnet-style Satetsu Shigure. When Uchiha Sora saw this, he just smiled faintly, formed a seal with one hand, and slapped his palm on the ground. Earth-style wall. An extremely thick earth wall rose from the ground and blocked him in an instant. The countless fine needles landed on the earthen wall and were all blocked. At this time, the third generation Cage's wings of sand and iron suddenly flew over the earth wall and circled behind Uchiha Sora. Countless sand and iron once again condensed into several sharp spears and shot towards Uchiha Sora again. Magnet-style sand-iron giant needle. The sand-iron magnet style of third generation Cage is unpredictable. The spear arrived behind Uchiha Sora in the blink of an eye. Uchiha didn't look back on his short position, and chakra continued to output. Another earth wall rose from behind him, blocking the attack of the sand and iron spears. The attack by the third generation Cage puppet failed, and the sand iron changed again, turning into a huge triangular pyramid, ready to smash down. But at this time, Uchiha Kong had already jumped into the air, and slashed directly at the body of the third generation Cage puppet with the long sword in his hand. The third generation Cage puppet hurriedly flew upwards, but one of its arms was cut off by Uchiha. The Red Sand Scorpion was shocked when he saw this, and hurriedly controlled the third generation Cage to distance himself from Uchiha. Uchiha Sora is too dangerous. If you are not careful, the puppet will be completely destroyed. The next moment, he took out another scroll without hesitation and released hundreds of puppet bodies from it. This is exactly the Red Secret Technique 100 machine exercises. Sasuke, who was watching the battle from a distance, was shocked when he saw hundreds of puppets flying out of the scroll. He actually released so many puppets. Can this be controlled? Although he doesn't understand puppetry, he still knows some common sense about puppetry. Generally, puppet masters only control one puppet, but only those who are powerful can control 2 or 3 at the same time. Even if the Crimson Sand Scorpion is the best among puppet masters, it's impossible to control so many at once, right? After all, puppet masters use 10 fingers to release chakra threads to control the puppet. There are hundreds of puppets, but there are only 10 fingers, which is not enough. Sasuke was puzzled. At this time, the Red Sand Scorpion smiled coldly and suddenly took off the black cloud robe of the Akatsuki organization, revealing the mechanical body under the robe. The chest, hands, feet, and neck all have the same joints as the puppet. What? He is also a puppet. How is this possible? Sasuke opened the Ermagatama Sharingan and stared at the body of the Red Sand Scorpion with a look of disbelief on his face. Orochimaru on the side laughed and said, "This guy Scorpion seems to have made himself into a human puppet. What a crazy guy." Kabuto nodded with deep understanding. From a certain point of view, Scorpion is a person who pursues the ultimate, very similar to Orochimaru-sama. Yes, that's why I partnered with him in the organization before. Orochimaru couldn't help but sigh. Human puppet. This guy actually made himself into a human puppet. Sasuke couldn't imagine what kind of belief and what kind of skills could achieve this. Really crazy. At this time, hundreds of chakra-thin lines suddenly radiated from the only piece of flesh and blood on Scorpion's chest. These chakra-thin threads flew into the air and connected the hundreds of puppets. Suddenly, hundreds of puppets seemed to come to life, and each one was controlled to rush towards Uchiha Sora. Each of these puppets is carefully made, each puppet has its own secrets, and the weapons of the puppets are all filled with poison. As long as you are touched by these puppets, you will be poisoned immediately. Hundreds of puppets surged toward Uchiha Sora with an unstoppable momentum. Each puppet had a sharp blade flashing with cold light. The puppets flying all over the sky were so densely packed that it made people feel frightened when they saw them. How will Sora deal with such an intensive attack? Seeing this scene, Sasuke couldn't help but secretly sweat for Uchiha Sora. It's Scorpion who should be worried. Seeing Sasuke's nervous look, Orochimaru shook his head and said, "Today, you are lucky enough to see Kong Kun's power. I believe it will be good for your future growth." Sasuke was shocked and looked at Uchiha Sora. At this time, facing a large number of puppet attacks, Uchiha just stretched out his palm. A powerful chakra gathers in the palm of the hand. A blue energy ball appeared instantly, and then the energy ball quickly turned white and made a buzzing sound. Oh, is that the Rasengan of the 4th Hokage? No, it's not just the Rasengan, it seems to have properties changed in it. Orochimaru murmured as he looked at the energy ball in Uchiha's empty palm. At this time, as the energy ball rotated, a white shuriken shadow appeared around it. The buzzing sound echoed throughout the forest. Uchiha raised his hand above his head, and the next moment, the energy ball expanded again. Buzz. Its height actually exceeds Uchiha Sora's height. Powerful energy spread out, whipping up a gust of wind all around. Even Orochimaru and the others who were watching the battle from a distance could feel the huge energy in it. Sasuke even held his breath. He was pinned down by the powerful energy and could not even move a finger. He was extremely horrified. What kind of technique is this? The power of this chakra simply overturned his 3 views. This is not a technique that ninjas can master at all. Sasuke couldn't imagine how powerful Uchiha Sora was, and how he could use this level of ninjutsu easily. Even if he maximized Sharingan's insight, he still couldn't clearly see the operation of this technique. It's so profound. This technique has definitely exceeded S level. As expected of Kong Kun, he developed 4th Hokage's Muji Ninjutsu Rasengan to such an extent. What a genius! Orochimaru couldn't help but be shocked. Kabuto on the side also looked at Uchiha Sora in shock. It turns out that this is the power known as the Golden God of War. It is really beyond imagination. The onlookers were like this. The red sand scorpion facing Uchiha Sora was even more shocked at this moment, and their hearts couldn't help but tighten. Subconsciously, he controlled the third-generation cage puppet and used the sand and iron boundary method to create a black sand and iron wall in front of his puppet. Seeing this, Uchiha just smiled faintly. This move is currently the most powerful ninjutsu that can be displayed in Sage mode. Sage Art Wind Release Super Large Jade Spiral Shuriken. The size is 10 times larger than the ordinary Wind Release Shuriken. Then, he held up Sage Art Wind Release Super Large Jade Spiral Shuriken and threw it forward. The huge spiral shuriken flew out immediately, like a comet hitting the earth, piercing the sand and iron barrier fiercely. Buzz. The next second, a bright light burst out from the sand and iron barrier. Huge energy swept around in an instant, and the sand and iron barriers were shattered like paper. The puppets that swarmed up were swept up by the spreading energy before they had time to escape. Boom! The wind was raging in the forest, energy was dancing wildly, and the nearby trees were pulled up from the ground, flew into the air, and were torn into pieces. On the ground directly below the energy explosion, soil was flying and gravel was flying. The three Orochimaru who were watching the battle from a distance were almost blown away by the strong wind. They put their arms in front of their bodies and looked at this scene with shocked expressions. They were shocked to the point of being completely speechless. After a long time, calm returned to the forest. In front of everyone's eyes, in the emptied forest, where the energy had just exploded, a huge shallow pit with a diameter of more than 50 meters appeared on the ground. The fresh soil is exposed, and in this soil are countless puppet parts that have been broken into debris. That ninjutsu was thrown into the air, and it was so powerful that it changed the surface of the earth. If it exploded on the ground, the flying gravel would probably reach us. Kabuto said with a look of horror. He couldn't imagine that if he was hit by such a spell, he wouldn't be able to survive no matter how many lives he had, right? And if such a ninjutsu were released against a ninja village, just one shot would be enough to cause destruction like the Nine-Tails disaster to the village, right? This is simply a tailed beast in human form. Is this the power of Uchiha Sora? It's really terrible. Hearing Kabuto's words, Orochimaru on the side nodded and said, this kind of ninjutsu is already comparable to the tailed beast Jade, but this kind of ninjutsu must have enough chakra to be released, and I guess if there is no Sage mode, I'm afraid it will be difficult for Mr. Kong to unleash such an attack. Yeah, this is the power of Sage mode, it's so strong. Kabuto said enviously. Hey, Orochimaru, what exactly is Sage mode you talking about? Sasuke on the side couldn't help but ask while listening to the conversation between the two. Haha, Sasuke-kun, you have actually experienced the power of Sage mode. That thing on your neck is a kind of Sage mode. Orochimaru laughed strangely at Kaido. A curse seal. So this is the power of Sage mode. Sasuke gently touched the curse seal planted by Orochimaru on his neck. I can't help but become more and more obsessed with this power. And this played into Orochimaru's plan. Before, Sasuke might have been wary of the power of the curse seal, but after seeing the power of Uchiha Sora's Sage mode, it should be easier to accept it. As long as Sasuke accepts this power, the next thing will be much easier to handle. Orochimaru thought to himself. In the field, Uchiha was aware of everything around him. Suddenly, he saw many puppet fragments piled together in a pile of rubble. The moment he looked at it, a black shadow flew out from it. It is the third-generation cage puppet. The red sand scorpion, on the other hand, was hiding far away in the belly of another mountain pepper fish puppet and was not damaged. The red sand scorpion hid far away, so it was normal that it was not defeated by the power of the Rasen Shuriken. I didn't expect that the third-generation cage puppet would be fine too. Uchiha Sora saw the debris piled together and probably understood the reason. It seems that when the spiral shuriken exploded, Scorpion used a large number of puppets to stand in front of the third-generation cage puppet, blocking the huge energy explosion for it. After all, the third-generation cage puppet is Scorpion's most proud creation among all the puppets and cannot be destroyed easily. And those puppets summoned by the red secret technique Beiji exercise are not so important in front of the third-generation cage puppets. When the energy exploded, almost all of these puppets were destroyed. At this time, the Crimson Sand Scorpion watched hundreds of his puppets being destroyed in an instant, and he was heartbroken and bleeding. He spent a lot of time and energy making these puppets, and every one of them can become a puppet that ordinary puppet masters fight for. But these puppets were all destroyed beyond repair under Uchiha Sora's ninjutsu, which is really annoying. But it's too late for the Red Sand Scorpion to get angry because now he has to face such a powerful Uchiha Sora. There was no way he could be distracted. Thinking of this, he could only continue to control the few remaining puppets and the third generation Cage puppet, and attack Uchiha in the air. Highly poisonous, sandy iron, mechanisms, hidden weapons. A fierce battle continues. However, the Red Sand Scorpion tried its best and tried all its tricks, but it still couldn't hurt Uchiha Sora even a hair. After a few minutes, Uchiha shook his head in disappointment. He found that in Sage mode, he really had no pressure to fight the Red Sand Scorpion. The various mechanisms and puppets of the Crimson Sand Scorpion can't cause any harm to him at all. This is without the ability to use Sharingan. If you activate Mangekyo Sharingan and use Susanoo, you may not be able to break your defense even if you stand and let Scorpion hit you. During the battle, a flying thunder god kunai flew to the side of the Red Sand Scorpion. The Red Sand Scorpion was controlling the third generation Cage puppet to release sand iron attacks. He didn't care about the incoming kunai and just turned his head to avoid it. But in the next second, Uchiha Sora's figure suddenly appeared next to kunai. The long sword is infused with lightning. Make a thunderous strike. Flying thunder god slash. The sword light passed through the flesh and blood of the Red Sand Scorpion's chest and emerged from the back. Blood splattered. The Crimson Sand Scorpion stayed in place, looking down at his chest in disbelief. The puppet body turned its head with difficulty and looked at Uchiha Sora, who appeared behind him. It turns out that you could have killed me a long time ago. A deep voice came from the Red Sand Scorpion's mouth. Uchiha Sora smiled lightly. The Red Sand Scorpion fell to the ground and died. Wherever he looked, there were two humanoid puppets. It is the father and mother he carefully crafted. These two puppets were also preserved from the super spiral shuriken just now. Akatsuki Organization, Scorpion of Red Sand, die. The controlled third generation Cage puppet fell from midair to the ground and became an ownerless thing. Uchiha put away his sword, took out a scroll, sealed the puppet of third generation Cage in it, and then sealed his part of the flesh and blood from Scorpion's body. As for the other puppets, he was not interested. After doing all this, Uchiha Kong returned to the three Orochimaru people. As expected of you, Kong-kun, you helped me deal with a difficult opponent. Orochimaru licked his lips. Uchiha waved his hand in vain. The things here are over, and it's time for me to leave. After a pause, he looked at Sasuke, reached out and patted his shoulder, quietly leaving a flying thunder god mark on him, and encouraged with a smile, practice well, don't rely too much on the power of the curse mark and Sharingan. Why? Sasuke looked confused. The most important thing for a strong person is to temper his own will. If he does not have enough will, he will not be able to control these two powers. Uchiha Sky's path. This is my advice to you. Sasuke nodded in understanding. Okay, see you later. Uchiha touched his head and gave Orochimaru a meaningful look. The next second, he activated the Flying Thunder God technique and disappeared. Chapter 91. Uchiha Kong came to Orochimaru this time and gained a lot. Not only did he successfully obtain the secret method of the curse seal, but he also found out where Baiju was hiding. He even encountered the Red Sand Scorpion and killed him, obtaining the third generation Cage puppet and the flesh and blood of the Red Sand Scorpion. Both of these are important materials that can be used to make the reincarnation of the earth. The third generation Cage puppet is a human puppet, and it must contain the DNA information of the third generation Cage, and the flesh and blood of the Red Sand Scorpion must also be left behind by his body. It's just that Baiju is not enough now to reincarnate both of them. So the top priority is that Uchiha Sora must first find White Zetsu. Following the address provided by Orochimaru, it didn't take long for Uchiha to find an underground cave. The location of this underground cave is right on the border between his own Kingdom of Grass and the Kingdom of Rain. White Zetsu was created by the Gedo statue. It was actually transformed from the humans who had their chakra drained by the sacred tree thousands of years ago. There are many Baiju clones and they are hidden underground all year round. After Uchiha found the cave, he entered it alone and started searching. This underground cave was extremely deep. After walking downward for more than an hour, I finally arrived at a natural underground hall. And Baiju clones are living in piles here. At a glance, there were at least dozens of white Zetsu. According to Orochimaru, white Zetsu clones usually hide underground in all parties in the ninja world and are used to collect intelligence on the ninja world. And these Baiju are currently processing some information collected from the ground. When they discovered Uchiha Sora's invasion, they all panicked. Someone is invading. Kill him quickly. Immediately afterwards, the Baiju people rushed forward with shouts. Uchiha formed a seal with one hand when he was free and pressed it on the ground. Lightning-style ground walk. In an instant, a powerful electric current entered the ground along his palm and quickly spread along the ground to the surrounding areas. The Baiju were immediately hit by the electric current under their feet, and sat paralyzed on the ground. Uchiha captured them all in 3 strokes. Using the Flying Thunder God technique, he was teleported directly back to the mirror space. After obtaining these white Zetsu, Uchiha Sora picked up the information scrolls on the ground that white Zetsu had not finished processing. At a cursory glance, there is a lot of information about his own grass ninja village, and some about the Konaha village. A lot of the information was extremely confidential and could not be known to non-core personnel, but Baiju got it easily. This intelligence capability is simply stronger than the most professional intelligence personnel. Uchiha Sora was not surprised by this. After all, Zetsu possesses the strongest transformation technique in the ninja world. It has many clones, which is very convenient for espionage activities. I have collected so many white Zetsu this time, which should be enough for sacrifices. After achieving his goal, he directly activated the Flying Thunder God technique and returned to the leader's house of Kusanagi village. Next, he took out the secret scroll of the curse seal he got from Orochimaru and began to study it carefully. Curse seal is a type of sage mode, which allows the body to integrate natural energy and perform sage transformation, which can greatly enhance strength. Compared with Mount Myoboku's sage mode, the sage transformation of this curse seal is difficult to control and will affect the mind, making people become violent and lose themselves. But what Uchiha is interested in is the operating principle of the curse seal and its ability to absorb natural energy. If you can use this to develop the secret technique of directly absorbing natural energy, it will definitely improve your own strength. The ninja war continues. There are constant wars and frictions between the Kingdom of Wind, the Kingdom of Thunder, the Kingdom of Fire, and the Kingdom of Earth. Some small forces have also participated. After the Earth Kingdom was crippled, it has been adopting a strategy of passive defense and recuperation. The Kingdom of Thunder and the Kingdom of Wind are eyeing Konaha, the Kingdom of Fire. Recently, their actions against Konaha have become more and more frequent, causing Tsunade, who has just succeeded the 5th Hokage, a headache. The grass ninja village where Uchiha Sora is located appears to be relatively peaceful. With Uchiha Sora in charge, this force that was originally just a small shinobi village has now become a safe haven for many people. More and more wandering ninjas are joining the grass ninja village to seek shelter. The strength of the grass ninja village is increasing day by day, and its status in the ninja world is getting higher and higher. Uchiha Kong was not surprised by this. He was still immersed in the process of studying the curse seal. Although he was not very talented at the beginning, as he becomes stronger and stronger and comes into contact with more and more secret techniques of ninjutsu, the research on ninjutsu naturally becomes easier and easier. The curse seal is indeed a profound secret technique, but it is not difficult for the current Uchiha Kong to understand. In the process of studying the curse seal, he discovered the 2 major components of the curse seal. One is from Chongwu's genetic talent. The second is Orochimaru's method of sealing his own will into it. What Uchiha Sora is studying is this method of sealing one's own will into a curse seal. For Uchiha Sora, who has average talent, it is too difficult to improve a secret technique. However, just half a month later, Uchiha, who was studying in seclusion, suddenly heard a systematic voice in his mind. Ding dong, with your unremitting study, your curse seal technique has been successfully improved and automatically evolved into a sage jutsu seal. In an instant, a large amount of information poured into his mind, and Uchiha Kong immediately understood the principle and usage of the sage jutsu seal. This sage jutsu seal is a secret technique generated by system improvement. In essence, it is no longer a curse seal technique, but sealing techniques. And the Sage Jutsu seal just meets Uchiha Sora's requirement to seal natural energy. After casting the Sage Jutsu seal, it can absorb all the surrounding natural energy, without entering Sage mode, but directly seal it in the body, making it gentle and easy to integrate. When you want to use it, you can directly release the natural energy in the seal, and it can be directly integrated with the body to complete Sage transformation. This is definitely different from Sage mode. Sage mode is the fusion of one's own chakra and natural energy, which is more reflected in the fusion of chakra, while Sage transformation is more reflected in the fusion of the body. Let's try the power of the Sage Jutsu seal first. Uchiha Kong couldn't wait to test it and find out the hero water he got before. Heroic water is the product of the towering trees in Takigakure village, and its essence is natural energy. It has been sealed by Uchiha Kong before, and now he can use it to cast the Sage Jutsu seal. Placing the hero's water in front of him, Uchiha sat cross-legged on the ground and formed a series of complicated mudras with his hands. This is exactly how the Sage Jutsu seal is formed. After completing the seal, a ray of light appeared in the palm of Uchiha Sora's right hand. At the same time, a huge suction force came from the palm of his hand. In an instant, the surrounding natural energy and the heroic water in the bottle began to roll, gathering crazily towards the palm of his right hand. As the hero's water rolled, it turned into a powerful natural energy and was sucked into Uchiha Kong's palm. These natural energies eventually converge along the meridians on the arms to the dantian in the abdomen. Eventually, a yin-yang pattern of sealing techniques appeared on Uchiha Sora's abdomen. This is the Sage Jutsu seal. The principle is to use the power of yin and yang attributes to seal natural energy in the body. Let the natural energy gradually become gentle in the changes of yin and yang. When the Sage Jutsu seal was formed, Uchiha Kong clearly felt an extremely powerful force in his body. This is the natural energy that has just been absorbed. In the Sage Jutsu seal, he could sense that this natural energy was being tamed as quickly as possible. Immediately afterwards, Uchiha Kong discovered that he could draw the natural energy in the seal at will. With a thought, gentle natural energy leaked out of the seal and gradually enriched his internal organs. At the same time, Uchiha Sora's appearance also changed. I saw that his originally well-proportioned body suddenly swelled, and the muscles all over his body became prominent. The face has also undergone great changes. The pupils have turned into a pale gold color, a pair of golden horns have appeared on the forehead, the eyebrows have disappeared, and the black hair has also turned into gold. This is Sora Uchiha's Sage transformation. And this is the controllable Sage transformation obtained after improving the curse seal through the system. It's many times more powerful than the curse seal. An unprecedented powerful feeling filled his heart. Is this the state of complete integration with natural energy? Uchiha was extremely shocked by his current state and power. He came to the mirror and looked at himself in the mirror. Golden horns, blonde hair, golden eyes, no eyebrows. If the hair is longer, the golden horns are removed, and the eye color is changed to blue, it will look a bit like the Super 3 state in a certain anime. Well, but this is definitely not the real Super 3 state, and I am not a Saiyan. Uchiha murmured. This mode is based on natural energy, and it is an upgraded version of Sage mode. Let's call it Super Sage mode. In short, Super Fairy mode. He discovered that in Super Sage mode, his reflexes and insight were improved many times more than in ordinary Sage mode. And his physical fitness is much stronger than before. Try this power first, Uchiha muttered to himself, activated the Flying Thunder God technique, and came to an uninhabited forest somewhere in the Land of Fire. Standing in the lush forest, Uchiha clenched his fist and punched forward with all his strength. Boom! Suddenly, there was an explosive sound in the air, and an air cannon visible to the naked eye was fired from Uchiha Sora's fist and flew hundreds of meters along the front. All the weeds and tree trunks along the way were crushed to pieces by this air cannon. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Uchiha Kong looked at his fist in shock, feeling extremely shocked in his heart. Although he could already feel that his power increase was exaggerated, he was still shocked when he saw this scene with his own eyes. He punched with all his strength and actually fired an air cannon. Doesn't this mean that now I actually have the power of Akai's 7-day tigers in the original work? It's even close to the level of 8 Gates Shixiong. If Akai were here, his whole jaw would definitely drop in shock. This is just an expression of strength. In terms of speed, Uchiha exerted force with his feet, and his figure appeared 100 meters away as if teleporting, leaving only an afterimage when he reached the spot. This kind of speed cannot be captured even by Mangekyo Sharingan. In fact, Uchiha Sora felt that as long as he was faster, he could step on the air and ascend to the sky. Next, Uchiha stretched out his palm, and instantly a golden Rasengan gathered in his palm. Rasengan also turned golden. I saw that the golden Rasengan was about the same size as the ordinary Rasengan. Although the scale of the technique did not change much, it exuded a terrifying power during its rotation. In Super Sage mode, Uchiha Sora's Sage Jutsu chakra is also much more powerful than the Sage Jutsu chakra in normal Sage mode, and even changes the color of the chakra. From the original blue, it turned into gold. This golden chakra is more condensed and pure than ordinary chakra. Uchiha threw the golden Rasengan directly and hit it on a boulder. Boom! The golden Rasengan exploded. The next moment, a 10-meter-high boulder was instantly turned into powder under the palm-sized golden Rasengan. Even the ground under the boulder was affected, and a large pit of more than 10 meters appeared. This power is more than 10 times more powerful than that of an ordinary Rasengan. Then, he tried his defensive ability again and scratched his hand with his long sword. Unexpectedly, it only left a red mark that could not even penetrate the skin. I am afraid that only slashes with the chakra attribute can cause damage to myself. Ordinary weapon attacks are probably ineffective. Now I finally have the strength to compete with 6 paths level experts. Uchiha said secretly after some experiments. This super fairy mode makes his chakra more condensed, dense, and pure, and the improvement it brings to him is undoubtedly huge. However, after some consumption, Uchiha Kong soon discovered that when the natural energy in the Sage Jutsu seal was consumed, he automatically exited the super immortal mode. And if you want to enter the super fairy mode again, you must absorb the natural energy of the outside world again. The process of reabsorbing and sealing the natural energy from the outside world takes time. Unlike Mount Myoboku Sage mode, which can be entered directly in seconds, the natural energy sealed by Sage Jutsu requires a process of absorbing and sealing. Similar to refining the vitality of heaven and earth in cultivating immortals, it is equivalent to a process of absorption and refining. He had hero water before, which could quickly absorb a large amount of natural energy in the hero water. In the absence of a treasure like hero's water, which contains a large amount of natural energy, Uchiha Kong can only slowly absorb the natural energy in the surrounding air. If the natural energy contained in a bottle of hero's water is absorbed through the outside air, it will take at least half a day. It seems that this super fairy mode can only be used as a trump card, and it must accumulate enough natural energy in the body. However, when thinking of natural energy, Uchiha Kong naturally thought of the dragon vein energy under the ruins of Loulan ancient city in the desert area of the Kingdom of Wind. Dragon vein energy is a kind of natural energy, and it is extremely huge, even so huge that it can distort time and space. Uchiha Kong had always wanted to go there to understand the natural energy. Now he has mastered the perfect Mount Myoboku Sage Jutsu and developed the Sage Jutsu seal. It seems that it is time to absorb and refine the dragon vein energy. Konaha Village, Hokage Office. Tsunade, who succeeded the 5th Hokage, was handling the copywriting. Assistant Shizune came in with a report and said with a worried look, "Tsunade-sama, intelligence came from the front line. When our ninja troops were tracking into the Kingdom of Wind, they were ambushed by the opponent's trap. Now they have suffered heavy losses. There are a large number of wounded or waiting for treatment, and the medical ninjas on the front line are already overwhelmed." What's going on? Tsunade looked shocked and stood up. The waves in front of her were turbulent and shaking. The Kingdom of Wind has placed a large number of toxins in the traps. Most of our ninjas have been poisoned and have now returned to the temporary base on the border. The medical ninjas over there can only stabilize the toxins and prevent them from spreading, but they are still unable to unlock them. I'm afraid I can only rely on you to deal with the poison in the Kingdom of Wind. Shizune Kaido. Tsunade heard this without any hesitation, put on her green gown and said, "Shizune, you stay here, I'll leave for the frontline base right away." "Yes," Shizune said immediately. Immediately afterwards, Tsunade summoned several Anbu and hurried towards the western border. Traveling at lightning speed along the way, Tsunade and her men quickly arrived at the temporary base. I saw a group of poisoned ninjas lying on the hospital beds in the base, all of them wailing in pain. Tsunade did not dare to neglect and immediately began to analyze the toxin and began to prepare an antidote. After a while, she prepared an antidote for everyone to take, and everyone recovered one after another. As expected of you, Lord 5th Hokage. All our poisons have been released. The ninjas who were rescued were extremely happy, cheering and looking at Tsunade, and all the male ninjas showed admiration. Although Tsunade-sama is no longer young, she is still so dignified and beautiful. She is also equipped with strong strength and status. She is simply the goddess that everyone dreams of. Seeing that the poison was released, Tsunade asked about the detailed process of the battle. After some understanding, she discovered that there must be powerful people hidden in the Kingdom of Wind troops this time, especially those with poison-making abilities, which reminded her of an opponent she had encountered before. Chio of Sand Hidden Village. Thinking of this, Tsunade decided to take people to confirm, and immediately selected some elites, formed an elite team of dozens of people, and headed straight to the Kingdom of Wind. After entering the Kingdom of Wind, we encountered a desert not long after walking. Tsunade-sama, we should be almost at the location where the Wind Country troops are stationed. A Konaha ninja said to Tsunade. Tsunade nodded. She was an expert and bold person, so she ran straight ahead without stopping at all. At this moment, the situation between heaven and earth suddenly changed. The sky that had been clear just a moment ago was suddenly covered with dark clouds, and strong winds were blowing all around, with sand flying all over the sky. What's going on? Tsunade and others were shocked. Look, what is that? One person exclaimed, pointing his finger not far away. Everyone looked intently and saw a pillar of light rising into the sky in the desert not far away. There seemed to be a large amount of energy gathered in the light pillar. It was this energy that stirred the surroundings and caused great changes in the world. What a strong energy! Tsunade's beautiful eyes trembled, looking at the beam of light, and after a slight hesitation, she decisively ordered, "Let's go over and take a look." After saying that, the group of people turned around and headed towards the place where the light beams converged. When they came to the light pillar, they found that they were surrounded by ruins standing in the desert. Tsunade-sama, this place should be the former ancient city of Loulan. A well-informed ninja said hurriedly. Well, I know, there should be no one here anymore. Don't act rashly while you stay here. I'll go over and take a look. Tsunade waved her hand, signaling her subordinates to stay where they were, while she quietly approached. Although the subordinates were worried about her safety, they did not dare to disobey Tsunade's orders and did not follow her. Tsunade approached the position of the light pillar, and finally discovered that at the bottom of the light pillar, there was a human figure sitting cross-legged. There is someone there. Tsunade was immediately shocked. She couldn't help but take a closer look, but saw that the figure sitting cross-legged in the beam of light was very familiar, and she couldn't help but go around to look at him. A familiar face suddenly came into view. Tsunade couldn't help being stunned, and whispered, "It's you, Sora." The figure sitting cross-legged in the beam of light is Uchiha Sora. Not long ago, he made the decision to absorb the energy of the dragon vein, so he went directly to the Loulan ruins and began to sense the power of the dragon vein and absorb it. However, he did not expect that the dragon vein energy was too huge. Although his Sage Jutsu seal could absorb the natural energy of the seal, his body could not fully withstand this natural energy. If too much was absorbed, there would be a risk of the body exploding. At this time, the energy he absorbed from the dragon veins was almost saturated and he could no longer absorb it. But the dragon vein energy in the ground has been attracted by him, and now his entire body is imprisoned by the light beam formed by the dragon vein energy. Gradually, the light beam formed by this dragon vein energy became stronger and stronger, and even the surrounding space was distorted. Even if Uchiha Kong wanted to use the Flying Thunder God to leave, he could no longer do so. Because the surrounding space and time has been disrupted, involving his body, and he is using the Sage Jutsu seal, powerful natural energy is continuously gathering into his body. Once he uses Flying Thunder God to perform a space jump, I am afraid that his body will be pulled to pieces by this huge natural energy in an instant. The only way now is to guide this energy into the void as much as possible, open the space-time wormhole, and follow this energy into the space-time wormhole. It seems that this time I will end up like Fugaku. Uchiha sighed inwardly. The power of guiding the dragon vein opened the space-time wormhole. In an instant, a huge suction force rolled up around him. At this moment, he saw Tsunade approaching. Tsunade-senpai, leave quickly. Uchiha said something bad secretly, and hurriedly asked Tsunade to leave. But after Tsunade heard Uchiha Sora's reminder, when she realized that something was wrong, it was already too late to retreat. I saw a dark space-time wormhole appearing in front of Uchiha Sora, and the huge suction force instantly sucked in all matter within a few dozen meters of the surrounding area. Tsunade's body also flew into the space-time wormhole uncontrollably. Just when her body was about to fall into the space-time wormhole, Uchiha Sora stretched out his hand and hugged her waist, and the two of them fell into the space-time wormhole together. All Uchiha saw was darkness. He hugged Tsunade tightly. After the two of them were spinning for a while, they appeared in a lush forest. When Uchiha regained consciousness, he found that he and Tsunade were hugging each other tightly, and his face was buried in her extremely majestic peaks. An unusually soft touch came, but suddenly I heard Tsunade's cold voice, "You brat, how long are you going to hug me?" Uchiha Kong woke up in a hurry, evacuated her arms, and let go of Tsunade. "Sorry, Tsunade-senpai, if I hadn't held you just now, I'm afraid we would have been lost in time and space," he quickly explained to resolve the embarrassment. Tsunade's expression softened slightly and she couldn't help but ask, "What on earth were you doing just now? You actually aroused such a huge amount of energy." Uchiha Kong did not answer immediately, but closed his eyes. After sensing it carefully, he opened his eyes and said solemnly, "Things are a little troublesome. The huge energy just now opened a passage similar to a space-time wormhole, and we have been sent to an unknown world, and I am afraid this is no longer the ninja world we were in before." "What? How is this possible?" Tsunade couldn't help but whisper, "Are you mistaken? My induction will not be wrong. If we were still in the previous world, I had set up many flying thunder god coordinate marks around the world. No matter where I was, as long as I was still on that land, I would be there. It can be sensed, but now I can't sense it," Uchiha Kong explained. Tsunade's heart dropped when she heard this. She had just become Hokage not long ago, before she had time to do anything for Konaha, or even before she had time to resolve the current war in Konaha, she ended up living in another world. Seeing Tsunade's face full of worry, Uchiha Kong comforted her, "But don't worry too much. I have sensed the natural energy of this world just now. It is almost exactly the same as the previous world. I think this place should be the same as the previous one. That world is similar, or at least somewhat related. But how should we go back?" Tsunade couldn't help but sigh. Although she is a Hokage and one of the Sannin, and is powerful, she still understands very little about the mysteries of time and space, and she has no way of going back. And now I can only watch Uchiha Sora. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but look at Uchiha Sky's path. "What on earth were you doing at the Loulan ruins before? Did you trigger that huge energy?" Hearing her question, Uchiha Kong had no choice but to nod. "Kaido, well, it's me. That energy is the dragon vein energy hidden under the Loulan ruins. It is a very huge natural energy. I was doing research on new techniques at the time and had to absorb it. This natural energy is just too huge, and something unexpected happened during the absorption process. But that's not important anymore. Let me try to reopen the space-time wormhole." After saying that, he sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. Seeing this, Tsunade stopped asking and stood aside, looking at him curiously. Uchiha closed his eyes and carefully sensed the huge dragon vein energy in the Sage Jutsu seal. The dragon vein energy is very huge. At this time, the energy in the Sage Jutsu seal is almost completely saturated. When this energy is released, it is definitely no less than the chakra energy of an entire nine tails, or even much more than 9 tails. He came through the space-time wormhole triggered by the energy of the dragon vein before, so now can he try to use the huge natural energy in the seal to induce the space-time wormhole back? Thinking of this, Uchiha Kong immediately released the natural energy in the seal. Uchiha Kong's muscles suddenly swelled and his black hair turned golden. A powerful aura rose from his body. Uchiha opened his eyes, his golden pupils were shining brightly, and his disappearing brows made him look even more evil. It's Super Sage mode. The ground began to be shaken with cracks, and the surrounding trees were blown around by the strong wind. Tsunade looked at Uchiha Sora's current form with a shocked face, her mouth slightly opened. Sora, your power. Not enough. Uchiha shook his head. He continued to release the natural energy in the Sage Jutsu seal, and saw a golden chakra flame burst out from him. A golden halo formed around Sora. Huge pressure swept away from all directions. Under this pressure, Tsunade felt her whole body tighten and her heart tremble. Too strong. This power has definitely surpassed that of the tailed beast. At this time, Uchiha released the golden chakra on his body and surged out into the void. In the blink of an eye, a golden beam of light shot up into the sky, punching a big hole in the clouds in the sky. I saw that the space next to Uchiha Kong was emitting ripples under this energy and became distorted. Powerful energy spread out unbridled, and all the creatures in the forest lay uneasily on the ground and trembled. After about half a minute, the golden light pillar gradually dissipated. Uchiha Kong took back his power and withdrew from the super immortal mode. He sighed and looked at Tsunade, who was already stunned. No, my power is not enough to open the space-time wormhole and go back. The most I can do is distort time and space. This is still far from opening a stable space-time wormhole and returning to the original world. After hearing Uchiha Sora's words, Tsunade woke up with a start and looked at Uchiha Sora with complicated eyes. Song, I didn't expect you to have such a huge power now. I really don't know how you practiced. If you were still there before in that world, with your power just now, I'm afraid you could have pacified the ninja world just like my grandfather Senju Hashirama, right? Uchiha smiled noncommittally. At this moment, some footsteps suddenly came from the forest, interrupting the communication between the two. Uchiha Kong winked at Tsunade, indicating to hide and observe first. Tsunade understood and hid in a bush with Uchiha Kong. The two of them peeled back the leaves and looked around, only to see a dozen people with long swords around their waists hurriedly appearing where they had been standing. These people were dressed in ancient clothes, and some were wearing samurai armor. They looked like samurai, but they were not entirely samurai. Judging from the breath, these people are not very powerful, and they also have chakra energy in their bodies. After Uchiha Sora discovered this, he felt slightly relieved. This shows that this world is closely related to the previous world, because people in this world also have chakra. At this time, Tsunade said softly, Sora, look at the patterns on those people's clothes. That should be the family emblem. I have seen this family emblem on the battlefield of the Kingdom of Wind. It should be the emblem of the Kingdom of Wind. A member of the Black Sand clan. But this family should have disappeared after the Second Ninja War. However, there are still people from the Black Sand clan in this world, which shows that there is definitely a close relationship with our world. Come on, let's go up and ask. Tsunade said in surprise, and immediately stood up and walked out of the bushes. Sora Uchiha had no choice but to appear and step forward. Seeing Tsunade and Uchiha Sora suddenly jumping out from the side, the dozen or so people from the Black Sand clan were all startled. Everyone, don't get me wrong, we are villagers from nearby who go hunting in the mountains. Tsunade pointed to Uchiha Sora beside him and explained, this is my brother, we are lost in Yamanaka. However, these people still looked unbelieving. The leader looked at Tsunade up and down, and suddenly smiled and said, village people who go into the mountains to hunt. You don't have hunting tools with you, and besides, you look like a pretty little woman. He doesn't even look like a member of the Orion family, he looks so decent, he's just the right time to take him back and train him properly. Tsunade's expression froze when she heard this, and then a dangerous smile appeared on her face. Training. No one has dared to say such a thing to me for a long time. Very good, very good. She clenched her fists and walked towards the Black Sand clan. What do you want to do? Everyone immediately felt a dangerous aura coming from them. Uchiha couldn't help but hold his forehead and murmured, how dare you tease Tsunade-senpai, you can just ask for your blessings. Immediately afterwards, Tsunade punched the ground. Boom! In an instant, the mountain collapsed and the ground cracked. An extremely huge force dented the ground, and countless cracks spread in all directions. The huge vibration caused the Black Sand clan members to fly directly into the sky. Tsunade jumped up high and punched all the figures flying into the air down. In the blink of an eye, everyone in the Black Sand clan fell to the ground and wailed. Tsunade clapped her hands, came to the leader, stepped on him, and said in a stern tone, "Do you still want to train me now?" "No, I don't dare anymore. Sir, please spare me." The leader was trembling with fear and begged for mercy. This was the first time in his life that he had seen such a terrifying woman. Even among those famous families in the ninja world, they have never heard of such a powerful woman. "From now on, I ask and you answer," Tsunade said domineeringly. "Yes, what are your identities?" "We are ninjas from the Black Sand clan. We are currently living in the country of wind and accepting tasks from the lords of the country of wind." "This man Kaido. Who is your clan leader?" "Our clan leader is the Tiger of Black Sand. Please, for the sake of our clan leader, let us live." The other party begged for mercy. Black Sand Tiger. Tsunade looked at Uchiha Sora. None of them had heard of this name. Uchiha Kong was moved and asked, "Do you know the Uchiha clan?" "The Uchiha clan." The man seemed to recall something, and said with a look of awe, "Of course we have heard of the name of the Uchiha clan. They are one of the two most powerful families in the world. Whoever goes against them will basically there is no good fruit to eat." Uchiha Kong continued to ask, "Then who is their current clan leader?" "Their clan leader's name is Uchiha Madara. He is an extremely strong Yamato and ruthless guy. It is said that most of the people who were his enemies are dead. Only the Senju clan in the world can compete with him," the man said as he spoke. His tone couldn't help but a hint of trembling. Uchiha Madara, Senju clan. Uchiha Sora was shocked when he heard this. Tsunade also showed a hint of confusion on her face, and couldn't help but look at Uchiha Sora. "That's right, we should have arrived at the Warring States period," Uchiha Kong whispered to her. As a time traveler, Uchiha Sora is very familiar with the history of the entire Hokage world. Although there is very little information obtained from the people of the Black Sand clan, it is basically certain that this should be the Warring States period of the Hokage world. That is to say, the era before Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama founded the Leaf Village. After getting this guess, Uchiha breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this world is still the original ninja world, and it is finally related to the previous world. If you come to a completely unfamiliar world or plane, you will be in big trouble. Afterwards, Uchiha Kong and Tsunade continued to ask some questions to the people of the Black Sand clan, and finally understood some of the current situation in the world. After understanding it, the two released the Black Sand clan members back. After the Black Sand clan left, Uchiha Sora said to Tsunade, "Tsunade-senpai, it seems that we reversed time and space through the energy of the Dragon Vein and came to the Warring States period 60 or 70 years ago. But according to the Grandfather Paradox, this should be more of a parallel world." Grandfather Paradox. Tsunade couldn't help but be stunned. Uchiha explained with a smile. The Grandfather Paradox is a set of theories used to travel through time and space. If there is a possibility of time and space travel, then the time and space traveled can only be the future, not the past. The specific description is the content of the Grandfather Paradox. If I travel back in time and kill my grandfather, then I will not be born. Since I will not be born, I cannot exist and I cannot go back to the past. Kill my grandfather. That's the Grandfather Paradox. Quote. Tsunade. This shouldn't be difficult to understand, right? Uchiha Kong couldn't help but shake his head and laugh when he saw Tsunade rolling her eyes. Is this a genius? You know so much at such a young age. Tsunade was actually a little confused. She blushed when she heard this and had to give him a blank look. Then he immediately changed the subject. Then where should we go next? Whatever, we can't go back now anyway. Uchiha shrugged. Then go and see the Senju clan, Tsunade said. Uchiha was stunned. You want to meet Senju Hashirama, right? Well, I'm here now, of course I have to go and see it. Okay, let's go to the Senju clan. I also want to meet the legendary ninja god. So, the two of them headed towards the country of fire. I just learned from people who asked the Black Sand clan that in this world there are still many countries coexisting, and the ninja families operate independently in the form of tribes. In this world, they are equivalent to mercenary organizations, and they must be employed by the country's plutocrats and lords to survive. The Uchiha clan and the Senju clan, due to their strong strength and top reputation, are being employed by the Chaebol lords of the wealthy Fire Country, and their family tribes are also settled in the Fire Country. Therefore, the two clans are in a direct competitive relationship. In order to compete for fame and fortune, they are almost at odds with each other, and they will fight whenever they meet. After the two learned about the location of the Senju tribe, they immediately set off. However, shortly after they walked out of the forest, they ran into a team of hundreds of people. This team is mainly composed of samurai, but there are also more than a dozen ninjas. At this time, this team was being attacked by another force and suffered heavy losses. That's the team from the Fire Country's Daming Palace. Tsunade recognized at a glance that the team being attacked was from the Fire Country's Daming Palace. Those who attacked the Damingfu team were a group of ninjas of unknown origin, and they were quite numerous. And the strength of these ninjas is obviously much stronger than the people here in Daming Mansion. During the battle, the ordinary samurai guards in the Daming Mansion team died one by one, leaving only a few ninjas still resisting. They stood guard beside a carriage and gritted their teeth and persisted. But after a while, they couldn't resist it, and dangers arose everywhere. Seeing this scene, one of the female ninjas quickly picked up a 15 or 16-year-old girl from the carriage and fled outside with her. "Don't let them escape. Capture that girl alive." A loud shout came from the attackers. The female ninja gritted her teeth and ran wildly, heading towards the location of Uchiha Sora and Tsunade. The attackers caught up in the blink of an eye and threw a large number of hidden shurikens at the two female ninjas. A large wave of attacks happened to envelope Uchiha Sora and Tsunade. As a passerby, Uchiha Sora didn't want to get involved in these things, but seeing that these attackers didn't care about his life as a passerby at all, and actually wanted to attack him as well, he couldn't help but frown slightly. The next moment, he made a seal with one hand. Earth-style wall. A thick earth wall rose from the ground and stood in front of the attackers, easily blocking a large wave of hidden weapon attacks. The attackers were shocked. The female ninja who was escaping with the girl couldn't help but was stunned, and her escape stopped. "Your Excellency, thank you for your help." The female ninja thanked her hurriedly, and then pushed the frightened girl in her arms in front of him. "This is the princess of the Fire Country. Since you have taken action, please help me to the end. If you take her back to the Daming Mansion, the Daming will thank you heavily." Princess of the Land of Fire. Uchiha glanced at the panicked girl and shook his head. "Sorry, I'm just a passerby and have no intention of intervening in this matter. But you have been involved, and they will not let you go." The female ninja said anxiously. "I will cut off your queenship next, so you can run away with the princess." "Want to run away?" At this time, the attackers jumped over the wall and surrounded Uchiha Sora and the others. The leader showed a ruthless look on his face, stared at Uchiha and said angrily, "Boy, how dare you interfere with the mission of our Shimura clan? Do you not want to live anymore?" "Oh, so you are from the Shimura clan?" Uchiha Sora said in surprise. "You attacked me first, so why did I interfere in your mission?" "HMPH. Stop talking nonsense. If you know the girl, leave that girl to us. Otherwise." The leader was too lazy to talk to Uchiha and directly threatened in a cold voice. However, before he could finish his words, Uchiha suddenly appeared in front of him like a ghost. He raised his hand and pinched the neck of the Shimura tribesman who couldn't react in time. A cold voice sounded from Uchiha's mouth, "Only you. How dare you threaten me?" The Shimura tribesman was horrified. When his neck was pinched, he felt that all the strength in his body was drained, and a strong sense of suffocation came over him. More importantly, he actually felt a power from Uchiha Kong that was no less powerful than their clan leader. "You, who are you?" He made a difficult voice from his mouth. Uchiha was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, so he raised his hand and threw his body away like garbage. At the same time, he formed a seal with one hand and directly summoned a thunderbolt, hitting the man's body. "Ah!" A scream came from the mouth of the leader of the Shimura tribe. The body fell to the ground and passed out directly. Uchiha Sora's series of crisp movements made the rest of the Shimura clan tremble with fear. "You, who are you? Do you dare to tell me your name?" After a while, everyone came to their senses, and a Shimura tribesman couldn't help shouting. In this day and age, ordinary ninjas rarely mention their surnames to others when they go out. Only some famous ninja groups often talk about their family names to intimidate their enemies. The Shimura clan is a prominent clan in the ninja world and has considerable influence in the Land of Fire. It is one of the few major clans besides the Senju and Uchiha. Therefore, after seeing Uchiha Sora's powerful skills, although the people of the Shimura clan were frightened, they still had the courage to ask questions, not wanting to lose the name of the family. Uchiha was too lazy to pay attention to them, looked at Tsunade and said, "Let's go." The strength of these people in front of them is simply not enough to fill the gap between their teeth. If they continue to attack, they are just bullying others and have no meaning at all. Tsunade smiled and nodded. The two left slowly. The female ninja hurriedly winked at the Princess of Fire Country, and the two followed her step by step. The ninjas of the Shimura clan watched helplessly as Uchiha Sora and his party left, but they did not dare to stop them at all. When Uchiha Sora's back completely disappeared from their sight, everyone present let out a sigh of relief. At this time, they discovered that their backs were soaked with cold sweat. Who is that guy? Why does it feel so scary? Yeah, it's so strong. Our captain is at least among the top 10 in our family, but he was easily defeated by that guy. The Shimura people looked at each other, feeling frightened. Uchiha Sora and Tsunade were walking slowly on the road, followed by the Princess of Fire Country and the female ninja. After the group walked for a while, the Princess of Fire Country quickly stepped forward to Uchiha Sora, bowed to him and thanked him. "Your Excellency, thank you for saving me. Akatsuki is extremely grateful." The female ninja also stepped forward and said, "This is the daughter of our Fire Country daimyo, Princess Akatsuki. Today is the day she returns from a trip. Unexpectedly, she was attacked by ninjas. If you hadn't taken action, the consequences would have been disastrous." Quote. Princess Akatsuki. Uchiha Kong looked at the girl, smiled slightly, waved his hand and said, "This is just a small effort. It's a piece of cake for you, but for me, it's the blessing of the god of luck." Princess Akatsuki looked at Uchiha Sora's handsome face with a blushing face, with a hint of shyness and longing in her eyes. She asked earnestly, "Can you tell me your name?" Uchiha Sora. Uchiha. The female ninja was shocked when she heard this. "So you are from the Uchiha clan. No wonder you are so powerful." Uchiha. I've heard about it too. It is said that the mission completion rate of the Uchiha clan is very high. Even my father praised it. If we can hire ninja guards from the Uchiha clan this time, everyone will not be sacrificed. Princess Xiaoyu sighed quietly. The reputation of the Uchiha clan is at its peak in the Land of Fire. If there is a member of the Uchiha clan in the team, often just showing the name of the Uchiha clan can make the other party avoid being presumptuous. After a conversation between the two parties, Princess Akatsuki made a request for Uchiha and Sora to escort her back to Damingfu. Uchiha thought for a while and agreed. Because he found that neither he nor Tsunade had any money on them, and escorting Princess Akatsuki promised to give him a very generous reward after returning safely. Just like that, the group of 4 people changed direction and headed towards Daming Mansion. Along the way, through chatting with Princess Akatsuki and the female ninja named Keiko, Uchiha Kong also learned more about the pattern of the Warring States period. The distribution of countries is similar to the previous world. There are mainly 5 countries, namely the country of fire, the country of wind, the country of thunder, the country of earth and the country of water. In addition, there are some small countries and other forces such as plutocratic lords. Except for the ninjas who operate as a family unit, it seems that the distribution of other forces is not much different from that world. However, because this world has not yet given birth to a huge force like the ninja village, there is no nuclear deterrent like the Jinchuriki. Therefore, the battle between ninjas is almost without scruples and extremely fierce. Moreover, because there is no one country one village system, the only way for ninjas to survive is to obtain mission commissions from the Chaebol lords by completing tasks. Therefore, in order to survive, ninjas are fighting every moment to compete for tasks or to eliminate competitors. In addition to their own family members and alliance families, ninjas are strongly wary of other ninjas. There is even a rule not to tell others your last name when you go out. Because once your family is exposed, you will most likely be killed by people from rival families. Of course, the more powerful one's own family is, the more it will become a bargaining chip to intimidate the enemy in missions. Just like the behavior of the Shimura clan's ninjas who reported their family before, they were using this as a deterrent. In the Land of Fire, the top families are currently the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan, followed by the Hyuga clan, the Sarutobi clan, the Shimura clan, the Nara clan, the Yamanaka clan, and the Akamaki clan. It is said that the people of the Uchiha clan have very powerful ninjutsu talents, and the power of the clan leader Uchiha Madara is even more terrifying. Along the way, Princess Akatsuki said longingly, "It would be great if I also had that kind of powerful power." Quote, "Princess, although the power of a ninja is powerful, it must be obtained through extremely arduous training. You are a person of golden branches and jade leaves, and you cannot endure such hardship." Keiko, the female ninja next to Princess Akatsuki, smiled and said, "Moreover, even if many people practice hard, they cannot reach the heights of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama." Princess Akatsuki nodded, suddenly looked at Uchiha Sora, and said curiously, "Sir Sora, I think you are very powerful. I wonder where you rank in the family." Uchiha was stunned for a moment, then smiled and shook his head and said, "I am still just an unknown person among the Uchiha clan. I haven't competed with others yet, so it's hard to say. He is a person from another world, and he is indeed an unknown person here. But in terms of strength, he is really worthy of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara now." Of course, he would not say these words, otherwise he would be suspected of boasting, and even if he said it, no one here would believe it except Tsunade. Princess Akatsuki was very curious about Uchiha Sora's strength, and after getting familiar with it, she pestered him to perform the lightning-style ninjutsu he had used before. Naturally, Uchiha Sora would not agree to her unreasonable request. Because she lost her carriage, walking on foot was unbearable for an ordinary person like Princess Xiaoyu, and her progress was very slow. Just then, a small town appeared in front of them, and the four of them entered the small town to rest for the night. The four of them found a hotel, opened 4 rooms and began to rest. At night, when Uchiha Sora was about to fall asleep, there was a sudden knock on the door. Feeling the breath outside the door, he stepped forward and opened the door. He saw Tsunade standing at the door looking at him. "Tsunade-senpai, it's so late, why did you come to see me?" Uchiha Kong asked doubtfully. Tsunade said, "I can't sleep, so I wanted to talk to you." Uchiha was stunned. "Are you worried about going back?" Tsunade nodded slightly and said with a hint of confusion, "If we can't go back, what do you think we should do in the future?" Uchiha smiled and said, "Don't worry, we will definitely be able to go back. You say it's easy, but actually you don't have much confidence in how to go back, right?" Tsunade rolled her eyes at him. "You don't need to comfort me, I'm not a woman who can't withstand blows." After a pause, Tsunade took his arm and walked outside, saying as he walked, "Since you're not going to sleep, then come drink with me." "Drink wine? Yes, by the way, let's have a good talk about the future," Tsunade said. Okay, Uchiha had no choice but to agree. The two of them took advantage of the darkness and came to a tavern and sat down. In the tavern, Uchiha Sora and Tsunade drank one glass after another. Uchiha Sora is naturally no stranger to drinking. I also drank with Tsunade in that world, but at that time I was accompanied by Karen, and Tsunade was accompanied by Shizune. Now that the two of them were drinking alone, they had a special artistic conception. Uchiha knew that Tsunade was a little confused now and worried about how to go back. He kept drinking and chatting with her. The two chatted a lot, and when the topic of how to go back came up, Uchiha Sora told her that as long as she became stronger, she would definitely be able to find a way to go back. Then the topic came up that she couldn't go back to. Tsunade planned to go back to the Senju clan and live with her grandfather, Senju Hashirama. When talking about Senju Hashirama, Tsunade talked about a lot of things from her childhood, such as Senju Hashirama taking her to gamble, such as how she would lose every time she gambled after becoming obsessed with gambling, and so on. By the end of the conversation, Tsunade became drunk and lay unconscious on the table, mumbling a lot of words in a daze. Some talked about her brother, and some talked about breaking up. And she started crying while talking. Uchiha pushed her in the air, trying to wake her up, but the drunk Tsunade threw herself into his arms and hugged him tightly. While hugging him, he was still talking a lot in his sleep. Uchiha Sora struggled several times to push her away, but Tsunade was very strong and couldn't do anything despite several attempts. In the end, he had no choice but to let Tsunade hold him. The two of them sat hugging each other in the tavern, smelling Tsunade's scent, and Uchiha felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. He couldn't help but think of Quan and Xian who were still in that world. If they really couldn't go back, how anxious would they be? Unknowingly, he has already left many ties in that ninja world from time to time. Although becoming stronger has always been his goal, the scenery he encountered along the way inadvertently entered his life and became a part of him, making it difficult to let go. At this moment, Uchiha also had thoughts in his heart. After drinking cup after cup of wine, Uchiha finally became drunk. Looking at Tsunade who was still hugging him tightly, he shook his head helplessly. With a thought, he activated the Flying Thunder God technique and returned to the room where the spatial coordinates had been left long ago. However, seeing Tsunade still not letting go, he, who was already a little drunk, had no choice but to hug her and lie on the bed and fall asleep. This was the first time he slept with a woman in his arms. In his sleep, Uchiha Sora seemed to have a long and sweet dream. In the dream, many touching and heart-wrenching things happened between him and the woman in his arms. When Uchiha woke up, he found that there was an extra person in his arms. When he regained consciousness, Uchiha Kong suddenly noticed an extremely strong murderous aura. Looking down, he met a pair of extremely shameful and angry eyes. The owner of those eyes was Tsunade, whose hair was a little messy. But at this time, Tsunade's face was flushed and her pretty eyes were filled with frost. What's more important is that at this moment, the two of them are stuck together and inseparable. "Tsunade-senpai," Uchiha Sora exclaimed. "Uchiha Sora," Tsunade said with a cold tone, filled with shame and anger, "what did you do to me?" Uchiha Sora hurriedly opened the quilt and jumped up. "Go to hell," Tsunade finally exploded, letting out an earth-shattering roar. Immediately afterwards, she instantly activated the Baihao technique, the seal on her forehead was released, and special lines instantly covered her body. Because she was not wearing clothes, Uchiha Kong saw with her own eyes the lines flowing along the mysterious place. Then, Tsunade raised her fist and hit Uchiha Sora hard. With this punch, Tsunade used all her strength. One punch with the strange power of the Hyakuya no Jutsu is enough to crush Susanoo. And this punch now hit Uchiha Sora firmly on the chest. Uchiha Sora didn't dodge. He was hit in the front by the punch, and his chest collapsed instantly, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. Immediately afterwards, his body flew out like a cannonball, directly passing through the wall of the hotel, smashing through the entire thick wall, and flying down to the street. His body also slid out along the ground of the street, and then fell hard again. Hit a building. The building collapsed, burying him directly inside. This sudden scene immediately shocked the people in the town and screamed. The guests in the hotel were also frightened and ran out. After Tsunade knocked Uchiha away with one punch, she quickly put on her clothes and stood there stunned. The events of last night were going through my mind. She knew that this was not all Uchiha Sora's fault, because although she was drunk last night, she still vaguely remembered that she took the initiative to hug Uchiha Sora and wouldn't let him leave. As for what she did when she returned to the room later, she only remembered it as if she was dreaming, and did not realize that it was really happening. When I woke up in the morning, I realized that the unspeakable dream last night was not a lie, but a real story that happened between myself and Uchiha Sora. Thinking back carefully, Tsunade found to her shame that she was still very active and cooperative in that dream. Because she was in a dream, she had no scruples at all and released all her needs. But now that she woke up, Tsunade wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl in. Having been single for so many years, I actually gave my first time to a boy who was so many years younger than me. Tsunade was so confused that she didn't know how to face herself or Uchiha Sora. At this time, Princess Akatsuki and the female ninja Keiko from next door heard the noise and ran over. Tsunade hurriedly covered the traces on the bed with the quilt, looked at the two of them, and said calmly, "What's the matter?" Tsunade dono, what happened? Where is Uchiha Sora dono? The female ninja Keiko asked as she glanced at the big hole in the wall, sweating on her forehead. Princess Akatsuki ran to the big hole and looked at the ruins of the house that had been knocked down by Uchiha on the street outside the hole. Ahem. A light cough came from the ruins. Uchiha Sora was seen staggering up from the ruins naked. Most of his chest ribs were broken, blood was pouring out of his mouth, and he could hardly maintain his breathing. His image was simply miserable. This is the most serious injury he has suffered since traveling through time. If it were placed on an ordinary ninja, he would have died long ago. Feeling the gazes around him, Uchiha Kong looked up at the hotel, quickly activated the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, and returned to the hotel room. As soon as he appeared and returned to the room, he heard two soft calls. It's Princess Akatsuki and Keiko. When they saw Uchiha Sora naked, they all blushed and turned around in shock. Put it on. Tsunade threw a piece of clothing from the side and covered Uchiha Sora. Uchiha Sora hurriedly took it. But he was seriously injured at this time, and he immediately fell to the ground as soon as his body moved slightly. Princess Akatsuki, who was quietly observing from the side, rushed to Uchiha Sora's side and said anxiously, "Son Don, why are you injured?" "Who did it?" "It's me," Tsunade said coldly. "What? Tsunade Dono, why are you doing this?" Princess Akatsuki said angrily. "It's nothing, it's just our daily training." Before Tsunade could answer, Uchiha waved her hand with difficulty and explained for her. Daily training. Princess Xiaoyu and Keiko looked at each other, a little hard to understand. This seems to be beyond the scope of daily training, right? Uchiha Sora's chest has deflated, and his face is as pale as paper. Even ordinary people can see how serious such a serious injury is, right? This is completely a fatal injury. Do ninjas have such daily training? Looking at Uchiha Sora, who was severely injured and had more air coming out than taking in air, the two of them were very worried. Why don't you recover from your injuries quickly? Tsunade on the side snorted coldly. Uchiha Kong felt relieved when he saw this. Judging from Tsunade's actions, the immediate crisis should have passed. He then formed a seal and released the yin seal on his forehead, and used the art of creation and regeneration he had learned from Tsunade. The next moment, in the shocked eyes of Princess Akatsuki and Keiko, they saw the injuries on Uchiha Kong's body recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. The sunken chest swelled again, the broken ribs were all restored, and the pale complexion regained its color. Not long after, Uchiha's injuries were gone and he was resurrected with full health. This is so amazing. Princess Xiaoyu and Keiko were stunned and couldn't help but exclaim. Uchiha Kong looked at the mess around him and smiled bitterly. These losses caused here must be compensated. It's just that he is penniless now and can't pay compensation at all, unless he runs away directly. Not long after, as expected, the hotel owner came to kill him, and brought several victims with him, all of whom came to demand compensation. How much compensation will be required in total? Tell me the amount. Fortunately, Princess Xiaoyu stood up and waved her little hand. The other party saw that Princess Akatsuki was gorgeously dressed and must be a noble person, so she stopped pestering Uchiha Sora. After an hour, a group of 4 people successfully walked out of the town. It's just that the atmosphere in the 4-person room is quite subtle. Tsunade walked in front alone without looking back. Uchiha Kong frowned, a little distressed. Princess Akatsuki looked very happy because she was now Uchiha Sora's creditor. The 4 of them walked for a long time and then stopped to rest. Uchiha wanted to talk to Tsunade, but Tsunade made excuses and said it was convenient, so he had to give up. Brother Kong, did you make her angry somewhere? At this time, Princess Xiaoyu came over and whispered. Of course Uchiha Kong knew what was going on. Although Tsunade stopped attacking him along the way, she never gave him a good look. The relationship between the two seemed to be at a deadlock. If you don't understand, don't ask any more questions. Uchiha shook his head. Princess Xiaoyu felt bored, snorted and turned her head. However, not long after, she came up to her and asked curiously, Brother Kong, what is your relationship with Sister Tsunade? Are they siblings? Because Uchiha Sora looks about the same age as her, around 16 or 17 years old, while Tsunade is obviously more mature, looking to be in her 20s. Uchiha Sora had mixed feelings when he heard this. In the past, the relationship between him and Tsunade could only be regarded as a teacher and a friend at best, or even more, it could only be regarded as an acquaintance. But after last night, the relationship between the two has changed. Even Uchiha Sora is somewhat uncomfortable with this sudden change in the relationship. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sound broke through the air, and a kunai flew in front of him. Uchiha Kong was shocked, raised his hand to catch the kunai, and pinched it. But he saw a small note tied to the kunai. He opened it and found that it was written by Tsunade. After reading it carefully, Uchiha could not help but frown secretly. Tsunade left. Just now she made an excuse to go for convenience, but actually she wanted to leave. In the message, Tsunade stated the entanglement in her heart. She was still unable to face the change in their relationship calmly, so she wanted to leave for a while, take a quiet moment, think about it before meeting again. Daming Mansion of the Land of Fire. Uchiha Sora has been here for 3 days. Since Tsunade left 3 days ago, he followed Princess Xiaoyu to Daming Mansion. Because he owed her a large amount of debt, he promised to be her guard and master for a month. Because she is curious about the power of ninja, Princess Akatsuki has been pestering him to learn ninjutsu these days. Uchiha couldn't defeat her, so he taught her the most basic chakra refining method and the simplest transformation technique. Living in the spacious courtyard of Damingfu, Uchiha was thinking about where to go next. With his current strength, it is almost impossible to return to that world, but he is not without options. Because his Mangekyo Sharingan is a space type I, it has the ability to create space. As long as it evolves into the eternal Mangekyo, Uchiha Kong believes that his understanding of space will also reach a higher level. If you can evolve into the Samsara Eye and awaken stronger abilities, it should be easier to go back with the help of the Samsara Eye. However, it may be a little more difficult in terms of time. After all, his Mangekyo still has less than 3 years to awaken the eternal power. When the time comes, he will still have to find an opportunity to awaken as the Samsara Eye, and the period required will naturally be longer. Therefore, Uchiha Sora must make plans to live in this world for a long time. Master, Master, while he was thinking, the voice of Princess Xiaoyu came. She was seen walking quickly, accompanied by a middle-aged man wearing a strange headdress, who was none other than her father, the daimyo of the Land of Fire. Your Majesty the daimyo. Uchiha Sora greeted him. The daimyo nodded to him, smiled slightly and said, Your Excellency Kong, you have formed an organization alone and are recruiting members. I wonder if you are interested. Oh, what organization is it? Uchiha asked with a sudden thought. Princess Akatsuki on the side responded quickly, the organization is called the 12 Guardian Ninjas. It consists of 12 outstanding ninjas as members. They are responsible for protecting the safety of the daimyo on weekdays. Master, you are so powerful, you will definitely be qualified. Protecting the 12 ninja warriors. Uchiha suddenly realized that in the original work, Asuma Sarutobi was a member of this organization, and there were 11 other ninjas of equal strength to him. The combined strength of the 12 people cannot be underestimated. However, Uchiha Kong shook his head and said, Sorry, Lord Daimyo, I have no intention of joining your organization. A disappointed expression appeared on the daimyo's face, and he said helplessly, Well, since you don't want to, then forget it. After a pause, he added, However, the current members of the organization come from several large families, including members of the Uchiha clan where you belong. If you are interested, you can also talk to them. Communicate. Uchiha Sora nodded. After the daimyo finished speaking, he left. Princess Akatsuki, who was left behind, rolled her eyes, then pulled him and said, Master, it's okay now anyway, how about I take you to meet the 12 guardian ninjas? Practice first, let's talk after you finish. Uchiha raised his hand and tapped her head lightly. Oh, okay. Xiaoyu had no choice but to respond. Under the guidance of Uchiha Sora, he began to practice ninjutsu. At this time, Tsunade had also arrived at the Senju clan's tribe. Looking at the prosperous Senju tribe, Tsunade's heart was filled with excitement. Uchiha sat empty in the courtyard of Daming Mansion, and the surrounding natural energy quickly gathered towards his body. Orange fairy eye shadow appeared on both of his eyelids. In the blink of an eye, he had entered Mount Myoboku Sage mode. In Sage mode, his perception increased sharply and he immediately sensed Tsunade's aura. Did you go to the Senju clan? Well, with your strength, you should be a master in the Senju clan after Hashirama and Tobirama. Uchiha murmured. After sensing that Tsunade had gone to the Senju clan, he felt relieved. After Tsunade returned to the Senju clan, her treatment would definitely be good given her abilities. Should I also go and see the Uchiha clan? Uchiha thought to himself after exiting Sage Mode. In this era, Uchiha and Senju are old enemies. Now that Tsunade has returned to the Senju clan, it may be difficult to fight with the Uchiha clan in the future. It seems that I still have to go to the Uchiha clan. Anyway, Senju and Uchiha will reconcile in the future. I might as well speed up the process. Uchiha planned in his heart. In order to avoid another conflict between the family and Tsunade, Uchiha Sora was also worried. With the plan in mind, Uchiha Sora bid farewell to Princess Akatsuki. Master, are you leaving? But you haven't stayed for a month yet. You haven't taught me the more powerful ninjutsu yet. When Princess Akatsuki heard that Uchiha Sora was leaving, she suddenly showed a look of dissatisfaction on her little face. Abandon. Uchiha smiled apologetically, raised his hand and tapped her forehead gently. I'm sorry, Akatsuki, I have important things to do, and I can't stay here anymore. I'll teach you ninjutsu after I finish my work. Bar. But, Uchiha Kong closed his eyes, activated the power in the Sage Jutsu seal, and condensed a golden chakra crystal in his hand. This golden chakra crystal contains the power of his Sage Jutsu, and the coordinates of the Flying Thunder God are also left on it. Make this into a necklace and wear it on your body. If you are in danger, input your chakra into it and I will appear in time. Uchiha Kong said as he handed the golden crystal to Akatsuki's hand. This golden chakra crystal is a way for him to condense the Sage Jutsu chakra after learning Super Sage Mode. This crystal contains his power, and some simple settings can be made, such as leaving the ability to react in it. Flying Thunder God Technique style coordinates for directional induction. In this way, others only need to input chakra towards the crystal, and they will be able to sense it. Princess Akatsuki took the golden chakra crystal, held it in her hand, and looked up at Uchiha Sora. Practice well. Uchiha waved to her and turned to leave. Next, his destination is the Uchiha clan. However, not far after he walked out of Daming Mansion, a group of people stopped in front of him. I saw these people wearing waistbands with fire marks on them and looking at him with unkind expressions. The people who protect the 12 shinobi. Uchiha recognized the identities of these people and frowned. Is it the daimyo? What does he want from me? No, it's not that the daimyo is looking for you, it's that I'm looking for you. One of the leaders, a tall and thin figure, folded his arms on his chest. Let me introduce myself, I am Uchihaden. I heard that the daimyo once invited do you want to join the organization? But you actually refused, right? Boy, you pretended to be a member of the Uchiha clan, and even tricked you into coming to the Daming Mansion. I grew up in the Uchiha clan, and I have never seen it before. You are such a number one person. Uchiha Tien. Uchiha Kong's expression changed. You said I am pretending to be Uchiha. Isn't it? Uchiha Tien said proudly. The clan leader Uchiha Madara is my cousin. I have followed my cousin in the north and south, and I know all the people in the clan without exception. I see. Uchiha nodded without further argument. Because strictly speaking, he is indeed not a member of the Uchiha clan in this world, but comes from that world. How is it? You have nothing to say, right? Uchiha said coldly. In that case, just be obedient and let me teach you a lesson. Let me see the real power of Uchiha. After saying that, Uchiha Tien opened the Sharingan. The Scarlet 3 Magatama Sharingan suddenly opened. Several other guardian ninja warriors who followed Uchihaden exclaimed. This is the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. It's really a lot of experience. I am honored to see the power of Uchihaden Dono's Sharingan. It seems that this trip is worthwhile. Yeah, let's see the power of the Uchiha clan. Listening to the compliments from his companions around him, Uchiha Tien's face became even more proud. He looked at Uchiha Sora with cold eyes and said calmly, Imposter, I will show you the power of Uchiha Sharingan today. Uchiha Sora sighed. If he hadn't been able to open Sharingan now, I would have really wanted to show him what Mangekyo looked like. The members of the Uchiha clan during the Warring States period were so proud. It seems that Madara was used to it. Of course, this also shows that the Uchiha clan was indeed at its peak during this Warring States period. Fire-style Great Fireball Technique. At this time, Uchiha Tien suddenly formed a seal with his hands and performed the Uchiha family's signature fire style. A scorching fireball shot out towards Uchiha. Uchiha Sora's eyes flashed when he saw this. I saw him forming the same seal and spitting out a fireball of the same size from his mouth. It is also the art of Great Fireball. The next moment, the two fireballs collided with each other. The fireballs collided, and the heat wave spread heavily in all directions. Suddenly, Uchiha Tien's expression changed, and he saw that his fireball was being suppressed rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. But in the blink of an eye, Uchiha Sora's fireball had already covered his fireball, shrouding Uchiha Sora. No, Uchiha hadn't actually lost in the collision of fire style. The spectators on the side exclaimed. Uchiha Tien also had a look of disbelief on his face, and hurriedly retreated in desperation, only to be able to avoid the scope of the fireball. What a powerful ninjutsu ability! Uchiha Tien was shocked and looked at Uchiha Kong in confusion. Who are you? Uchiha Kong smiled slightly and simply said, use all your power and let me see Uchiha's strength. HMPH. Don't underestimate Uchiha. Uchiha felt that he was being underestimated and roared angrily. He no longer used ninjutsu, but quickly drew out his ninjutsu and stabbed Uchiha Sora. The secret of Uchiha swordsmanship. Half-moon slash. A ray of sword light struck Uchiha Sora's face. Uchiha Kong also drew out the long sword from his waist, waved it upward with one hand, and wrote lightly, swordsmanship, wind slash. A strong wind was inspired from the Uchiha sky sword, like AB ninjutsu, roaring towards the Uchiha sky. Before Uchiha Ten's half-moon slash could reach Uchiha Sora, his body was blown around by the strong wind. In the end, he was unable to move forward and stopped half a meter in front of Uchiha Sora, unable to move forward even half a step. Uchiha Tien was shocked. The other 12 guardian ninjas also looked at each other in confusion. Now even a pig can see that Uchiha Sora's strength is not simple. As the elite of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Ten can't even get close to the opponent's body. How strong is this guy? Onlookers were shocked. It seems that everyone underestimated this guy. Is this the only level? Uchiha inserted his long sword into the ground and suddenly formed a seal with one hand. Then he pressed his palm lightly on the hilt of the sword. Lightning-style walk. A bolt of lightning burst out from his palm, drilled into the ground along the sword, and then struck Uchiha Tien along the ground. Uchiha Sora was still shocked by Uchiha Sora's one-handed hand seal technique, but without a second thought, he was struck by lightning from beneath his feet. Ah! With a cry of pain, Uchiha Tien was paralyzed and fell to his knees. Fortunately, the level of this lightning-style ninjutsu is not high, it is just a relatively basic lightning-style ninjutsu, so its lethality is not strong. Uchiha knelt on the ground for a long time, then stood up again after regaining his strength. His eyes were scarlet and he murmured, fire style, wind escape, lightning style, one-hand seal. Who on earth are you? The strength shown by Uchiha Sora actually made him, a proud elite of the Uchiha clan, so embarrassed. This is really unacceptable. Uchiha Tien couldn't believe that he, an elite ninja of the Uchiha clan, was invited by the daimyo to be a member of the 12 guardian ninjas, but he would be so vulnerable in front of others. No, I don't believe it. Uchiha Tien suddenly burst into tears and formed seals with his hands again. Fire-style Great Dragon Fire Technique. He opened his mouth and spat out a powerful dragon head-shaped flame, roaring towards Uchiha. This is AB level fire style, which is extremely powerful and concentrated, making it difficult to resist. The dragon head-shaped flames flooded Uchiha Sora in the blink of an eye, and a violent explosion erupted on the spot. Smoke and dust billowed, and gravel flew. Did you hit it? Uchiha Tien looked intently. Suddenly, there was a sound of breaking through the air behind him. It's the sound of a sharp blade piercing the air. Uchiha Tien suddenly turned around. But he saw Uchiha Sora suddenly appearing behind him, thrusting his sword straight at him. Uchiha Sora's eyes Sharingan rotated wildly, taking in all Uchiha Sora's movements. I saw it clearly. Don't even think about stabbing me. He roared angrily, twisted his body to avoid the sword, and raised his ninja sword to slash at Uchiha Sora. However, at this time, Uchiha Sora's body suddenly accelerated. Although the long sword that stabbed Uchiha Sora missed the target, his body came closer instantly. Before Uchiha Sora's ninja sword could hit Uchiha Sora's body, Uchiha Sora had already hit him with a palm on his knife-wielding wrist. Bang! His wrist hurt, and Uchiha fell to the ground with his sword. Immediately afterwards, Uchiha Sora's hand holding the sword struck him in the abdomen. He used the hilt of the sword instead of his fist and struck Uchiha Sora directly in the abdomen. Boom! Uchiha Tien was hit hard in the abdomen, and the pain made him unable to straighten his waist, and he almost fell to his knees again. But at this time, Uchiha Sora no longer gave him a chance to breathe. He threw the long sword into the air and hit Uchiha Sora with his bare hands. The fists are like strong wind and rain, and the punches hit the flesh. In the blink of an eye, Uchiha had already punched dozens of times, leaving Uchiha with a bruised nose and face, and blood dripping from his face. Boom! Finally, Uchiha kicked him away again. He raised his hand to catch the long sword that had just fallen, and sheathed the sword. This series of movements is like flowing clouds and flowing water, completed in one go. The 12 guardian ninjas who were watching were stunned for a while. Uchiha fell to the ground with a look of despair on his face. Uchiha looked at him and said, "You are too weak." "Who are you?" Uchiha Tien said with difficulty. "If there is a chance, I will see you again in the Uchiha clan in the future," Uchiha said calmly. Next, he is going to visit the Uchiha clan. As expected, he will definitely interfere in the affairs of the Uchiha clan. By then, Uchiha Tien will naturally know his identity. After saying that, Uchiha Kong walked away from here. That evening, he came to the vicinity of the Uchiha tribe. This time when he came to the family, he hoped to mediate the conflict between Uchiha and Senju, so he had to give himself a certain right to speak. To gain the right to speak, it is naturally impossible to keep a low profile. The best way is to talk to Uchiha Madara in person. Therefore, as soon as Uchiha Sora arrived at the gate of the Uchiha clan, when he was questioned by the family's gatekeeper ninja, he made up a fictional identity and said with a smile, "Uchiha Sora, I am a descendant of the bloodline that the family left behind many years ago. I came here to visit the Uchiha clan. Come and see your clan leader Uchiha Madara." Uchiha Sora, the bloodline that the family left behind. The gatekeeper ninja was stunned when he heard this. "How do you prove that you are from the Uchiha clan? Are your Sharingan's eyes open?" The gatekeeper ninja asked suspiciously. These days, there are still quite a few people pretending to be the Uchiha clan, so he has to guard against them. Uchiha shook his head and said, "No. His Sharingan is in seclusion to attack the realm of eternity, so naturally he cannot open it for others to see." "No." The gatekeeper ninja looked strange, and suddenly snorted coldly, "Then please come back, Your Excellency. The Uchiha clan has important matters to deal with, and we don't have time to entertain you at the moment." Uchiha Kong frowned. He visited with nice words, but he didn't expect to receive a blank look from the other party. In this case, he is no longer polite. He said calmly, "No one can stop me from the person I want to see. In that case, I will go see Uchiha Madara in person." "Bold. You can meet our clan leader whenever you want. You are so brazen. Stop." The gatekeeper ninja hurriedly stopped in front of Uchiha Kong, drew his weapon and pointed it at him, looking coldly at him. Upon seeing this, Uchiha Sora raised his hand and made a one-handed hand seal, instantly releasing a genjutsu. Although he has not opened Sharingan now and cannot release genjutsu directly through Sharingan, with his genjutsu attainment, the power of ordinary genjutsu released through seals is not small. The gatekeeper ninja was hit by genjutsu on the spot, and he stayed in place, unable to move. It was too late to even send a warning. Uchiha ignored him and walked slowly into the tribe. He saw people coming and going in the tribe, and many ninjas were gathering in one direction. It seemed that the family did have something to arrange. So much so that no one noticed Uchiha Sora's intrusion. Until he followed the crowd to a training ground, a young man who looked very similar to the grown-up Sasuke suddenly stopped him at the entrance of the training ground. "Who are you? How did you join the family?" the young man shouted. The young man's voice immediately attracted the attention of other tribesmen. Suddenly, many tribesmen gathered around and looked over. Many people looked at Uchiha Sora with hostility when they saw the unfamiliar face. "I've been discovered," Facing the hostile looks of countless tribesmen around him, Uchiha Kong looked calm and had a smile on his lips. Seeing his behavior, the young man continued to snort. I have to say you are very brave. How dare you break into the territory of my Uchiha clan? Now you are exposed in front of everyone, and you can still laugh. Izuna-sama, it's not good. Just at this moment, two tribesmen ran over, one of whom was the former gatekeeper ninja. He shouted from a distance to the young man who looked like Sasuke, there is a man who calls himself Uchiha. The Sora guy attacked me with Genjutsu. He's gone now. Are you talking about me? However, before the gatekeeper ninja could finish speaking, Uchiha Kong spoke. You, how dare you show up here so arrogantly? The gatekeeper ninja came closer and was stunned when he saw Uchiha Sora. Then he quickly reminded Uchiha Izuna. Izuna-sama, be careful of this guy's genjutsu. At this time, the young man who had just stopped Uchiha Sky, that is, Uchiha Izuna, looked at Uchiha Sky's path with interest. So your name is Uchiha Sky, but why don't I remember that there is a person like you in the family? Tell me, where are you from? At this time, more and more tribesmen had gathered around. Without waiting for Uchiha Sora's answer, the gatekeeper ninja who had been hit by Uchiha Sora's genjutsu rushed to answer. Master Izuna, this guy claims to be the bloodline left behind by our family, but when I asked him if he had opened his eyes, he said no. Open your eyes. That's it. Uchiha Izuna laughed when he heard this. The surrounding tribesmen also laughed, with ridicule in their laughter. Looking at his age, he is no longer a child. He hasn't even opened a Sharingan yet. I think he is just a liar pretending to be Uchiha. Yes, even if you are not a liar, at this age you have not yet opened your eyes, but at best you are just a burden. This kind of ungrateful guy, we'd better drive him out as soon as possible, don't waste everyone's time. The cynicism came one after another. Uchiha couldn't help but shake his head. He thought that the Uchiha clan in that world was already arrogant, but compared with the Uchiha clan here, they really pale into insignificance. But this is not surprising. After all, in this world, the Uchiha family is one of the two top families in the ninja world. Both their strength and reputation are enough to make them arrogant. But today, Uchiha Sora wants to break their arrogance. He suddenly laughed, looked at the Uchiha people around him, shook his head and said, they are really a group of people who sit in a well and look at the sky, and don't know how high the sky is. Who told you that people who don't open their eyes are a burden? As soon as Uchiha Kong finished speaking, the surrounding tribesmen were like a fire being lit in a straw pile, and their anger started to surge up. You fool, how dare you say that we, the Uchiha clan, sit in a well and look at the sky, and we don't know how high the sky is. Who are you? Why do you say such a thing? I want you to taste the power of Sharingan. You are so bold, you dare to speak nonsense in our territory. You are simply seeking death. Someone even shouted, Izuna-sama, let me teach this guy a lesson. Yes, Izuna-sama, I want to fight too. Me too. Me too. Me too. Suddenly, there were calls from all over the place. Looking at the Uchiha tribesmen around him who were all filled with indignation, Uchiha Kong didn't have any expression of panic or fear on his face, he still had a slight smile on his face. Uchiha Izuna looked at Uchiha Sora in surprise. Seeing that everyone is trying to teach you a lesson, you don't seem to be afraid at all. It seems that you are quite brave. Uchiha smiled noncommittally, looked around at everyone, and said calmly, not long ago, I met a guy named Uchiha Tien. That guy also kept shouting in front of me like you, but then I let him to be honest. I wonder how capable you people are of him. Uchiha Tien. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but be stunned. Didn't that guy go to Daming Mansion? Has this guy even seen him? It sounds like what he said is true. It doesn't sound like it's fake. So, this guy really met Uchiha Ten. And he seemed to defeat Uchiha Ten. Isn't it possible? Uchiha Tien is not weak. Is this fake really that powerful? The people who had been clamoring before now looked at each other, as if they were frightened. Boy, even if you really defeated Uchiha, can you underestimate all the Uchiha we have here? At this time, someone finally shouted. This is the Uchiha clan. Maybe the guy in front of me does have some strength and can defeat the powerful Uchiha Ten, but so what? There are many masters in the family, including masters like Uchiha Izuna and Uchiha Madara. Everyone is confident. Uchiha Izuna smiled coldly, grinned and said, let's call you Uchiha Sora. No matter where you come from, today is the day when our Uchiha clan goes out to fight against the Senju clan. You will not be allowed to run wild here. Going to conquer the Senju clan. Uchiha Kong frowned slightly and said in surprise, it seems that I came at the right time. What, do you have any objections? Uchiha Izuna asked. Uchiha nodded. Sorry, I do have some opinions. Uchiha Izuna was stunned. Dare you joke in front of me? I'm not kidding. Uchiha looked at him and said calmly, since you are going to Senju today, I really have a little suggestion here. Say. Uchiha Izuna's eyes turned cold. I hope the Uchiha clan will stop the war with the Senju clan. Uchiha Sora said word by word. After hearing what Uchiha Sora said, everyone around him was stunned and looked at each other. Ha ha, ha 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 ha, what did he just say? I didn't hear clearly. He seems to have said that he wants a truce between the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan. Did I hear you correctly? Who the heck is he? How dare he say such a thing? You heard it right, you heard it right. I never thought that we would encounter such a strange thing in my lifetime. When our Uchiha clan went on an expedition, saying such words would really make me laugh to death. The crowd burst into laughter. Everyone looked at Uchiha Sora like he was an idiot. At this moment, everyone even thought that there was something wrong with Uchiha's mind. A guy who jumped out of nowhere actually ran to the territory of the Uchiha clan, facing hundreds of clansmen and many masters, saying such nonsense. I'm afraid no one would believe this kind of thing. What's going on? Just as everyone was laughing around Uchiha Sora, a cold and majestic voice suddenly came. Everyone hurriedly opened a passage and saw a man with long hair, wearing armor, and carrying a large fan behind him walking slowly. A powerful yet indifferent aura descended instantly. The tribesmen looked at him with awe. Brother, Uchiha Izuna greeted the visitor. None other than Uchiha Madara. Izuna, what's going on? I asked everyone to gather, why are you all gathered here? Uchiha Madara asked with a frown. Izuna, who had always kept a cold face, couldn't help but smile. Kaido, brother, I met an interesting guy who claimed to be from our Uchiha tribe. He broke in rashly and was caught by me. Oh, Uchiha Madara glanced at Uchiha Sora, is it this guy? I seem to have heard some interesting remarks just now. Yeah, Uchiha Izuna nodded and said, he just said he wanted us Uchiha and Senju to cease war. I think he should be a spy sent by the Senju clan. Really? Uchiha Madara walked slowly to Uchiha Sora, folded her arms and looked at him indifferently. Did Hashirama ask you to come? Facing the real Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Sora's face did not show any nervousness. He remained calm. Instead, he looked Uchiha Madara up and down with interest. Then Kaido said, Uchiha Madara, you think I look like Senju, a spy sent by the clan? Uchiha Madara said calmly, Hashirama should not do such a meaningless thing. Yes, it seems that your brain is better than your brother's. Uchiha said with a smile. What did you say? When Uchiha Izuna next to him heard this, he was furious and couldn't help but rush to teach Uchiha Sora. Uchiha Madara waved his hand to stop his younger brother's behavior. He looked at Uchiha Kong and frowned. This is the first time someone dares to say such a thing in front of me. In terms of courage, I admit that you are very good. Tell me, who are you? Who, for what purpose? Uchiha Kong said calmly. It doesn't matter who I am, even if I tell you, you won't believe it, but the purpose of my trip is very clear, which is to prevent the war between you and the Senju clan. Uchiha Madara heard this and said calmly, by you? Yes, by me. Uchiha Kong smiled slightly. Interesting. I didn't expect to meet such an interesting guy like you before I went to Senju. Uchiha Madara grinned. He glanced at Izuna beside him and said, since he wants to stop us, then you should give him some color. Uchiha Izuna said excitedly, yes. I can't bear it anymore. Be careful, don't be careless. Uchiha Madara reminded his brother. He could see that Uchiha Sora was definitely not weak, otherwise he would never dare to come in front of him and make such remarks. Don't worry, brother, I've already opened Mangekyo Sharingan. I just want to practice with him. Uchiha Izuna smiled confidently. Uchiha Madara nodded. His younger brother is the second person to activate Mangekyo after himself, and his strength is second only to his own. Of course, he has great confidence in his younger brother. The previous reminder was just to teach his younger brother not to be careless at any time. When the surrounding tribesmen saw this, they were naturally very excited and hurriedly made way for the two of them. Looks like we have to take action. Uchiha Sora, who saw this scene, smiled lightly and was not afraid of fighting. He had already been mentally prepared when he came here, and a fight would inevitably occur if his persuasion failed. However, he originally hoped to have a fight with Madara, but he didn't expect that only Izuna would take action. Uchiha Izuna stood opposite Uchiha Sora and smiled confidently. Boy, it's still too late to beg for mercy. Once you do it, the sword has no eyes. If I accidentally kill you, don't blame me. Uchiha Sora just smiled lightly and ignored Izuna's shouting. Izuna suddenly felt unhappy at being ignored and snorted. Since you don't know what's good, then don't blame me for being rude. After saying that, his eyes instantly turned scarlet, and the three Magatama Sharingan suddenly opened. A powerful chakra aura erupted from him, awe-inspiring. The surrounding tribesmen were very excited when they saw this. What a strong aura! He is indeed Madara-sama's younger brother. Izuna-sama, show him the power of our Uchiha. Teach him a lesson. Amid the cries of everyone, Izuna finally took action. His hands were quickly forming seals, almost turning into an afterimage. The speed of the seals was extremely fast. In an instant, a fire-style ninjutsu takes shape. Fire-style Great Fireball Technique. A huge fireball erupted from Izuna's mouth, and billowing heat waves hit Uchiha from the sky. Uchiha stood there with his eyebrows raised slightly. Judging from this hand alone, Uchiha Izuna's basic skills are very solid. Among the Uchiha people he knows, only Uchiha Fugaku can compare with him, and even Itachi is half a step behind. They are worthy of being one of the two brothers who can rule the roost in this warring states era. If Izuna's strength were placed in that world, he would definitely be a strong one in the cage level. However, Uchiha Sora is no longer what he used to be. His body is constantly practicing automatically. Whether it is body, spirit, or chakra, it has already surpassed the average shadow level. And his chakra amount has reached the level of an ordinary tailed beast. This is still his normal ability. At this time, looking at the oncoming fireball, Uchiha quickly formed a seal. Earth-style wall. The sealing speed is even faster than Izuna. Ninjutsu comes first. A wall of earth rose from the ground, instantly blocking the front of the fireball. Boom! The fireball and the earth wall collided fiercely, causing a violent explosion. The earthen wall also shattered in response, and the fireball gradually extinguished. With just one move, the surrounding Uchiha people screamed in surprise. Oh my god, this guy can actually be as good as Izuna-sama. Did you notice? He was forming seals very fast just now. I didn't even notice what seal he was forming, and I didn't know it was earth style until ninjutsu activated. It seems like this guy does have some strength. Everyone was amazed at Uchiha Sora's performance. Only Uchiha Madara stood in the distance and watched with cold eyes, his eyes unmoved at all. Uchiha Izuna snorted coldly when he saw this. Without saying a word, he drew out the ninja sword from his waist and appeared in front of Uchiha Sora. One slash. When a long sword stopped in front of his blade, and Uchiha Kong blocked it instantly. The two swords clashed, causing sparks to fly. Suddenly, a burst of dazzling thunder and lightning flashed from Uchiha Sora's sword. Under the blessing of thunder and lightning, the long sword became extremely sharp. Izuna was shocked when he saw this and hurriedly retreated back. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.